A Christmas reunion.
Summary: Leah Russell from San Diego works in her parents' clothing store after leaving her husband and divorcing him. She was devastated when she found out that he was cheating on her. He was co-owner of a publishing company. He was the love of her life. After leaving him at Christmas time, she hated the holiday season, and one year decided to go up north to avoid Christmas. But a strange turn of events took place when she found out her husband also rented the same cabin she had. Because of a bad storm, found herself stranded with him, and the two of them were in for a big surprise. What they both thought happened didn't, and it took a small town and a magical snow globe to make them realize they still loved each other. But would it bring them back together or tear them further apart? Chapter 1. It was going on 3 weeks until Christmas, and Leah Russell was busy doing the books for her parents' clothing store. She sat in the office trying to focus on the paperwork before her, but the Christmas music coming from the store was grinding on her nerves. 2 years ago, on Christmas morning, she walked away from the only man she had ever loved, divorcing him. For 6 months, she lived with her aunt in Alaska. Heartbroken, she knew she couldn't hide forever, so she moved back to San Diego to work in her parents' store. Now 2 years later, there was still a hole in her heart that just wouldn't heal. The very thought of being around family and friends this Christmas was proving to be too much for her, so she made a decision to go away by herself. But to break it to her mother and father was going to be so hard. But she had to do it. Pushing the papers away, she got up and poured herself a cup of coffee. Sitting back down, her mind drifted back to when she first met him. She was with some friends in a bar when this tall, handsome man walked up to her as she was waiting for the bartender to hand over her drink. "Let me pay for that," the stranger said, handing the bartender the money. She turned her head and stared into a pair of smoldering blue eyes. He had a light stubble on his face. His dark hair was carefully styled back. He had an incredible body, his abs rippling through his shirt underneath his suit jacket. When she finally found her voice, she gave him a friendly smile. "Thank you, but you really don't have to do that. I want to, but I do want something in return before the night is over." "Oh, here we go," she thought to herself. "Just because you buy a lady a drink doesn't entitle you to something in exchange." She snapped, reaching into her purse to pay for it. She felt a tingle go through her body when he placed his hand over hers, stopping her from taking the money out. "I think there has been a misunderstanding on your part. I wasn't suggesting anything *Zool. Just one dance before the end of the night." The way his eyes were staring into hers, she felt the heat rising up, her cheeks burning. "Oh, I'm sorry." As he paid the bartender, he gave her a smile. "There's no need for you to be sorry. I'm sure that someone who looks like you gets hit on a lot. Enjoy your evening. I'll collect on that dance later tonight," he said. Lifting her hand up to his lips, he kissed it, then turned and walked away. She went back to her friends, who witnessed the scene between her and the stranger. "What?" she asked when she saw the smirks on their faces. "Who was that hunk you were talking to?" Coco asked, grinning from ear to ear. "I don't know. He didn't tell me his name." "A perfect stranger just goes up to you and buys you a drink for no reason. He must want something," Sarah said, frowning. "Well, he did say he wanted one dance with me before the night is over," she replied, looking around to see if she could spot him. But he was nowhere in sight, so she figured he had left. In a way, she was relieved. He had this strange effect on her, and she was afraid she'd do something foolish. 3 hours later, and feeling no pain, she was sipping on her drink, swaying her hips to the music while her friends were up dancing, when she felt a light tap on her shoulder. She turned around. The stranger was standing right in front of her. Maybe it was the alcohol, or the way his smothering blue eyes gazed upon hers, that had her heart racing and her core throbbing. "I'm here to collect on that dance," he said, taking the drink from her hand, placing it down and leading her onto the dance floor. He pulled her into his arms, crushing her body against his. The moment he saw her standing at the bar, he knew he had to get to know her. She was wearing a black sparkly dress. Her long blonde hair flowed down her back. She had a look of sweet innocence about her. "I've been waiting all night to dance with you," he said in a low and *XY voice. "Who are you?" she asked, feeling the firmness of his body against hers. "My name is Preston Phillips, and you are?" he asked, looking down at her lips that had on a shade of pink lipstick. Leah Russell," she replied, her eyes glued to his lips. She had the urge to kiss them, and being a little tipsy she felt brave, so she put her hands behind his head and pulling him down planted her mouth over his. She felt his arms tightening around her waist, and his lips pressing firmly against hers in a passionate kiss. When the kiss ended they were both breathing heavily and out of breath. "Let me take you home," he said, whispering softly into her ear. Without a word, she took his hand and they left the bar, her friends forgotten, as they got into his car, and she told him where she lived. When they got there he walked with her to her apartment and went inside with her. "Would you like a drink?" "I'm afraid all I have is wine." "I don't want a drink. Where's your bedroom?" When she pointed he picked her up and carried her to her room. Laying her down he climbed on top of her. His mouth came crashing down hard on hers. He pushed his tongue inside her mouth, his hand sliding up under her dress and inside her panties. He Ned when he felt her wetness and her arms going around his neck. They groped each other as they quickly removed their clothes. Straddling her he looked down at her as he ripped open a condom package and placed it over his shaft. "You're so beautiful," he said as he entered her with one hard thrust. They spent the night making love for hours until the sun came up, neither one having slept. She got out of bed and put a robe on, turning to look at him. "I'll go make some coffee and breakfast. You can take a shower if you like," she said and left him lying there on the bed. As she prepared them something she heard the shower running. Just as she was dishing out the food he entered the room, wearing only his pants, his shirt in his hand and his chest still damp. "Smells good. I'm starving." His eyes moved along her body. He could still picture what she felt like naked and smiled. As she placed the plate in front of him, when he sat down she realized what she had done. Sleeping with a total stranger. "I just want you to know I have never brought a stranger home for S**X. You must think I'm a tramp." He gripped her hand, pulling her down onto his lap, putting his arms around her waist. "No, I don't think you are a tramp. I want you to know I have never done anything like this before either. But there was something about you. I want to get to know more about you, to spend time with you." She ran her fingers through his hair. "I want to get to know you too." From that day on they were inseparable. The fire and passion between them grew with every passing day. He was co-owner of a large publishing company that was just starting out. He had dreams of making it one of the most successful companies around. 6 months later they were married and bought a house. Life was good for the first 2 years. But then things started going wrong. Preston was working longer hours, sometimes not coming home until early morning, and when he was home he was always on his phone or working in his home office. He had also hired a personal assistant, a tall S**XY brunette named Hannah Leaves. They took an instant dislike to one another, and Leah would complain to Preston that she never gave him her messages when she called. He would brush it off, saying it was her imagination, and all of their fights revolved around Hannah. She began to wonder if they were having an affair, but he would swear they weren't. The straw that broke the camel's back was on Christmas Eve. He was attending the office party, promising only to stay long enough to hand out the bonuses. Not feeling well she stayed home. She tried calling him several times, but his phone kept going to voicemail. Being in so much pain, she went to the hospital. After being tended to she called him once again, crying. She was in shock when Hannah answered his phone. Asking to talk to him, she was told he was in the shower, and she would have him call her back. Heartbroken she went home and packed her bags. She was in luck when there was one seat left on the plane going to Alaska. It was clear now that her husband was having an affair, so she went to stay with her aunt. Divorcing Preston, he would keep calling her, but she refused to talk to him or to tell him where she was. He finally gave up. She shook her head, wanting to forget about him. It was time for her to tell her parents she wouldn't be home for Christmas. Preston only intended on having one drink with the staff while handing out their Christmas bonus, but hours later he woke up with a pounding headache. He looked at the time and saw it was past midnight, and knew Leah would be furious. She was going to come with him, but feeling ill she stayed home. He got up. His legs felt like jelly and his head spinning, so he called for a cab to take him home. He could hear the party still going on, so he snuck out the back way. It was Christmas morning and he wasn't sure how he was going to explain why he was so late getting home, when he promised he'd be right back. He hurried upstairs to their bedroom, but she wasn't there. Her clothes were gone, but there was a note on the nightstand. He sat down to read it. Preston, I can't go on this way any longer. It's over. I am filing for divorce, so don't try to call or come see me. I am leaving and going to where you'll never find me. I don't want anything in the divorce. Just to be left alone. Goodbye. Have a good life. Your soon-to-be ex-wife, Leah. He crumpled the note up and threw it across the room. He couldn't believe that she would leave him without talking to him first. Feeling betrayed, he got up and went downstairs and poured himself a shot of whiskey. He knew they were having problems. What with him working long hours and not being there for her on special occasions. But he was doing this all for her. For them. He had always been a good husband. Never beat or cheated on her. Their ex-life was amazing. Though lately, it had slowed down some. Well, if that's the way you want it, you can have your damn divorce. He cursed, then started drinking straight from the bottle. Chapter 2. Leah walked into the store just as her parents were closing up for the night. Mom, Dad, can I have a few words with you before I go home? Both Gordon and Diane smiled up at her. What is it, dear? Her mother asked as she turned the sign over to close and lock the door. Would you like to come upstairs and have some dinner before you go? We can talk then. I'll heat up the lasagna I made earlier. No thanks, maybe another time. What did you want to talk to us about? Her father asked, looking at her with concern. Ever since her divorce from Preston, she hadn't been the same. I've decided to go away for Christmas, so I won't be here. Her mother's face turned pale. The twinkle in her eyes went out. What do you mean you're going away for Christmas? You can't. You need to be with family. Where are you going? She asked, rambling on. She looked at her mother. It bothered her to see the hurt in her eyes. I've rented a small cabin up north for a month. I'm leaving the day after tomorrow, and won't be back until the new year. Please don't look at me like that. I just can't be around all this happy cheer, and, well, I just don't want Christmas this year. Her father went over, putting his hands on her shoulders. Sweetheart, I know you're still hurting, but running away isn't going to do you any good. You need your family around you. I think you're still in love with Preston. Why don't you give him a call? I'll bet anything he's missing you too. She looked at him. He was getting up in years, 12 years older than her mother, but they were and still are both so much in love with each other. Dad, he's moved on. You don't know that? Yes, I do. I read the papers and the other day he was in it. He was at a party for his publishing company with Hannah. They looked cozy together. They're a couple now. I need a long holiday, and to be by myself, to sort things out. Okay, if this is what you want to do, your mother, and I will respect your decision. But if you get up there and become lonely, I want you to come back. Diane wiped her tears away and went over, giving her a hug. I don't want you to go, but you're old enough to do what you want. Since you're leaving, will you please stay and have dinner with us? Looking into her mother's eyes, she just couldn't say no. All right, I would love to stay and have dinner with you and Dad. Turning off the lights, they went upstairs to the apartment where her parents lived. While her mother put the food in the oven, she started making the salad. Her father went and poured them all a glass of wine. So where is this place you've rented? Diane asked, dishing out the food. It's about 8 hours from here, just outside a small village. She pulled out the brochure that showed the picture of the cabin, and had all the information in it, handing it to her mother. This looks lovely, dear, but it's kind of far from the town. I don't like the idea of you being there all alone. What if something happens to you? No, she didn't like it one little bit, handing it to her husband to look at. Mother, I'm a grown woman and can take care of myself. Besides, it's only a 15-minute walk into town. But honey, it's Christmas and you'll be so lonely. Mom, I'll be fine. I plan on doing a lot of reading and working on some designs for the store's display area. We really need to update the store. Something to bring in the younger people. But a month? Why so long? Her father asked. I just want to get away from the holidays, Christmas and New Year parties. Oh, but you used to love the holidays, Diane said, remembering how Leah loved decorating her home, making Christmas cookies and going to parties. That was until she left Preston, and since then she rarely smiled and never went out. Leah got up and placed her empty plate in the sink. That was then. I no longer do. I think I'll head home now. I have a lot of packing to do. After giving them both a hug and promising that she would call when she got there, she left to go pack. She planned on leaving early the next day and wanted to miss the morning rush hour. She had her car winterized, new tires, her oil changed and a complete tune-up. At her apartment, she grabbed her suitcases from the closet, knocking down a small box in the process. Groaning, she bent over, picked it up, she placed it on the bed. She sat down, her fingers traced along the top of the box. She knew what was inside and hesitated before opening it. Inside, on top, was a picture of her and Preston. It was taken one Christmas. Picking it up, she held it in her hands, tears streaming down her face as she looked at it. She had given him her heart, and he crushed it beyond repair. It was love at first sight, and she thought their love would last a lifetime. That was until he started working late at night, coming home smelling of booze and perfume. Whenever she confronted him about her suspicions, he would tell her there was nothing going on. He was spending so much time with Hannah, going to meetings with clients and drinks afterwards. In the beginning, he always insisted she go with him, but as time went by he stopped asking her to go. Countless times whenever she would call Preston, Hannah would answer, saying he was too busy to come to the phone. In a fit of anger, she tore up the picture and threw it into the wastepaper basket. She vowed that she would never again fall in love. Yet she still loved him, but knew she had to try and get over him. She wiped the tears from her eyes. Getting up, she goes to the bathroom and splashes water over her face. Taking one last look at her red and swollen eyes, she goes back into the bedroom and started packing. Early the next morning, she jumps out of bed, quickly showers and changes into a pair of jeans and a pullover top. After going downstairs and making herself some coffee, she took her bags out to the car while it was brewing. She flipped through the pamphlet while sipping on her coffee. The cabin was situated in the woods, only a few minutes away from town by car, but a good 10 to 15-minute walk. After washing up the dishes and putting them away, she leaves for her trip to the cabin. It was starting to snow and there was barely any traffic, which she was grateful for. So turning on the radio, found it was all Christmas music. After going through all of the channels and not finding anything that didn't relate to Christmas, she sighed loudly and turned the radio off. Even the Christmas songs made her feel sad and thinking about Preston. He always loved to sing along even though he had a horrible voice, but it still put a smile on her face. At Christmas, he would do everything he could to make her laugh. The first Christmas they were together as a married couple, he wore a pair of holiday deer antlers and nothing else, and would chase her around the house. Once he had caught her, he would carry her to the bedroom and tossing her on the bed, he would get on top of her. Another time, he wrapped a big red bow around his manhood, telling her she could unwrap her gift. They had so many good times together until it all went wrong. Arriving in the small town called Clarksville, she looked around for somewhere to grab a bite to eat before stopping to get some groceries. It was a longer drive than she thought it would be and she was starving. And as she drove through the small town, she noticed that they had all their Christmas decorations up. She rolled her eyes and let out a sigh. This was all she needed. Tiny snowflakes hit her windshield as she drove down the street. She finally spotted a restaurant up ahead. Pulling up to it, she stops, turned off the car and goes inside. As soon as she walked inside, heads turned her way, giving her a warm smile. Smiling back, she takes a seat near the front. A young girl in her early 20s came over to the table with a menu in her hand and handed it to her. "Good afternoon. Can I get you something to drink while you look over the menu?" Coffee, please." When the waitress came back with her beverage, she ordered the luncheon special. The people coming and going from the restaurant smiled at her when they walked past her. After she ate and paid the bill, she figured she might as well go fill up her gas tank before going to get some groceries. The young man behind the counter at the gas station saw her pull up. Putting on his coat, he goes out just as she was getting out of her vehicle. "Would you like me to fill it up?" She was taken aback. She figured she had to do it. "I didn't think these days they had full service anymore," she said, smiling. "We do here in Clarksville," he answered, filling up her gas tank. "I've never seen you here before. Are you just passing through?" "No, I actually rented a cabin just outside of town for the month." "You must be talking about the Kringles cabin. They rent it every year around this time. You'll like it there and it's close to town," he said, closing the cap to the tank. "That'll be $31. Please." She hands him $35. "Keep the change. If you need anything, just ask. My name is Ricky. You could point me in the direction of the nearest grocery store," she said, getting into her car and rolling the window down. "It's just down the block. Take a left and you'll see it." Placing his hand on the roof of her car, he gave her another smile. "You haven't told me your name." Leah Russell," she said as she started the car and drove off. She thought Ricky was a good-looking guy and was sure he was flirting with her. But she wasn't interested in anyone and wasn't here for romance. She just wanted to be left alone. She found it with no problem. But as she walked into the grocery store, she felt tired, so she decided to just grab a few things and come back tomorrow to stock up. Getting enough to do her until morning, she headed to the cabin. She was excited to see it. From the pamphlet, it looked amazing. It started to snow again, coating the road and trees. It was actually very pretty. It didn't take her long to find the place. Parking the car, she sat there, staring at it. It was exactly the same as the picture in the pamphlet. "It's breathtaking," she said under her breath. Chapter 3. Grabbing the bags of groceries from the back seat, she heads inside. She would come back to get her luggage once she had put away the food. Digging inside her purse, she takes out the keys and unlocks the door. Stepping inside, she looks around. She was amazed at the beauty and workmanship. Taking off her boots, she stopped to admire the living room and the beautiful fireplace. She could picture herself curled up on the sofa reading a book by a roaring fire. Groceries in her arms, she walked towards the kitchen, placing the bags on the counter. She loved the kitchen. It wasn't something she expected in a log cabin. After she put the food away, she went back outside to get her bags. Coming back inside, she checked out the 2 bedrooms. The one she chose to sleep in was small, but cozy, and the view from the window was spectacular. She then put her clothes away and placed her books on the bookshelf that was in the bedroom. After checking out the other rooms, she takes a long hot bubble bath, lit some candles and poured a glass of wine. Leaning back and resting her head on the tub, she felt good about being here. The place was lovely and there were no neighbors close by. Yes, she knew she was going to enjoy a month of seclusion. Feeling relaxed, she gets out of the tub and puts on her nightgown and robe. Then she goes into the living room and lights the fire in the fireplace. With another glass of wine, she curls up on the sofa with one of her books and starts to read. She wasn't sure how long she had been reading, but looking out the window and seeing how dark it was, she figured it had been a few hours. She had finished the whole book in those few short hours. The next morning, after having bacon and eggs, toast and coffee, she headed back into town to stock up on groceries. She was hoping to get enough stuff to last her so that she wouldn't have to come back out. The last thing she wanted was to be around all the people who were starting to celebrate the holidays with the decorations and the Christmas music playing. She filled her cart up, and as she was struggling with the bags, Ricky showed up. "Here, let me help you," he said as he grabbed a few of the bags. "Thank you. It looks like you're going to be feeding an army. You must have a lot of people coming to stay with you." "No, it's just me. I just figured I would get enough food to keep me while I'm here." They walked to her car and placed the bags in the trunk. "Hey, would you like to go for a coffee with me before you head home?" She looked at him, not wanting to hurt his feelings. "You've been very kind helping me with my groceries, but as for the coffee, I'm sorry, I'd rather just go right home." He nods, feeling somewhat disappointed. "Maybe another time. We'll see," she answered as she got into a car. "Thanks again for helping me with my groceries." As he was watching her drive away, a friend of his walked up and placed his hand on his shoulder. "So that's the girl you were telling me about. Looks like she's not interested, buddy. We just met. Got to give it time. From what I hear, she's only going to be here for a month, so why bother? I'm not saying that we're going to have a relationship, but she's here by herself, so why not show her a good time while she's here? Looking in her rearview mirror, as she drove away, she saw him watching her. He seemed like a nice man, and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. But she had no intention of spending any time with him. She just wanted to be left alone. She was awakened early by the sound of a machine, which she figured was a snowplow. Getting out of bed, she threw on some clothes and went to the front door and looked out. Sure enough, it was somebody in one of those small snowplows clearing her driveway. She hadn't realized it had snowed so much through the night. As she was standing there, the machine turned off and a man jumped out. She recognized Ricky right away. When he saw the front door opening, he turned off the machine and, getting out, walked over to her. "Hi there. I hope you don't mind, but I figured since it snowed so heavily through the night you might need your driveway cleaned, in case you need to go out anywhere." "Thank you, but you really didn't have to do that," she said, slightly annoyed. Ricky rubbed his hands together. His face and nose were red. "Boy, it's sure cold out here. I don't suppose you have any coffee made?" Not wanting company, but also not wanting to be rude, she figured the least she could do was give him a cup of coffee for the work he had done. "I was just about to put some on. Would you like to come in?" "I'd love one, thanks." He sat down at the kitchen table while she started the coffee. While the coffee was brewing, she put some bagels and muffins on the table. "Help yourself," she said as she got the coffee mugs out of the cupboard and got ready to pour the coffee. "So how are you liking it here?" "Well, it's only been a couple of days. I do like it though. It's very quiet and peaceful here, and the cabin is just so beautiful." "Yeah, the Kringles spent a lot of money fixing it up, and they rent it out every year at this time." "Can I ask you something personal?" "It depends on what it is." "I was just wondering why you're here alone. Isn't there a man in your life?" She took a sip of her coffee, not wanting to look at him. "There was. A couple of years ago." "What happened?" "I'd rather not talk about it. All I'll say is that I was married, but have been divorced for 2 years." "I'm so sorry. He was a fool to let you go." "I'm the one that left him," she said in a snarky tone. "I'm sorry for being so nosy. My mother always said I should learn to keep my mouth shut and not ask so many questions." "That's okay, and I'm sorry for snapping at you. It's just not something I want to talk about. I need to go to work now, but if you need anything, just give me a call. Here's my phone number," he said as he wrote his phone number down on a piece of paper and handed it to her. She walked him to the front door. "Thanks again, Ricky. I really do appreciate you cleaning my driveway." "Anytime," he said as he walked away. Turning around, waved goodbye to her. Closing the door, she takes a look at the phone number he had given her. She couldn't help smiling. He really was sweet, and not bad looking. If only she wasn't still carrying a torch for Preston, she might have tried getting to know him better. She slammed her fist down on the table, talking to herself. "Damn you, Preston, why can't I get over you? Well, no more. It's time to move on and forget about you and what you did to me." She spent the day cleaning, making dinner and getting started on some designs for the store. After eating dinner, she was feeling restless, so she decided to go for a walk. Putting on her coat and boots, she headed out, to nowhere in particular. As she walked through the snow, she spotted some deer running through the woods. Living in the city, she wasn't used to seeing such things, and had to stop to watch, thinking how beautiful it was. As she continued to walk, she also saw rabbits. Then she hoped there wasn't any dangerous wildlife around. She hadn't realized how long she had been walking until she got to town. All the Christmas lights were twinkling brightly. There was a time she would have loved it. The lights, the tree, and everything else that went along with the holidays. But not anymore. Since she was here and was getting cold, she figured she'd stop and get some hot cocoa. When she walked into the small diner and sat down, the waitress came over to take her order. "Hi, hey, are you the one who's staying at the Kringles place?" She was surprised that she knew and wondered how. "Yes, but how did you know?" "It's a small town. Word gets around. You'll love Christmas here. We have all kinds of cool things going on." The parade, a Christmas dance, and then there's the Christmas party in the park with ice skating. Sounds lovely, she said to the young woman. She wasn't about to explain to her how. She wasn't interested in any of it, so she ordered her drink. She sat there looking out the window, watching everyone walking by with their arms full of gifts, all smiling and waving to people who passed them. When she was done with her beverage, she paid her bill and walked out. Walking past the shops, her eyes caught something in the window, so she stopped to look at it. It was a musical snow globe. There was a couple dancing as the snow fell on them. She went into the store to look at it. It was so weird. The cabin behind them looked just like the one she was staying in. A weird feeling coursed through her when she thought the man looked like Preston and the woman looked like her. She pushed the button and music began to play. She gasped when she heard what it was playing. It was hers and Preston's Christmas song, the one that was playing when he had proposed to her. All I want for Christmas is you. She swallowed the lump in her throat and rushed out of the store, bumping into Ricky. Chapter 4. Whoa, slow down, Ricky said, grabbing a hold of her when she bumped into him. Hey, are you all right? He asked when he saw how upset she was. She turned her head away, not wanting him to see how her eyes were tearing up. I'm fine, I was just on my way home. I'll walk you to your car. I didn't bring it, I walked here. Well, I'll drive you home. You don't have to do that. I want to. Besides, it's dark out, and it's getting really cold now. She knew he was right. It was now dark, and she was freezing. Okay, thanks, she said and giggled. It seems like I'm always thanking you. He just smiled as they continued to walk to where his truck was parked. It really looks beautiful. The stores with all the lights and decorations, she said as she looked around. This town loves Christmas. We go all out. You'll have to come to our Christmas festival. There will be food, dancing and ice skating, and even Santa Claus will be there. It all sounds lovely, but I don't really like Christmas. Not anymore. He stopped walking to look at her, frowning. How can you not like Christmas? It's the most magical time of the year. It's a time for miracles. It's also a time for heartbreak. Leah, what did that ex-husband of yours do to you? I don't want to talk about it. Just take me home. When they got back to the cabin, he walked her to the door. Good night, Leah. Good night, Ricky. Over the next few days, she stayed in the cabin, reading and working on the plans for the store. Getting bored, she decides to check out the box that was hidden in the closet. Pulling it out and placing it on the table, she opened up the lid. Inside were Christmas decorations, lights for the tree and other ornaments. There was a time when she loved decorating a tree, especially with Preston. He was always horsing around, making her laugh so hard. After the tree was up and decorated, they would make love underneath, with the lights twinkling. When the tears started falling from her eyes, she put the lid on the box and placed it back in the closet. A week later, Ricky called her. Hi, Leah. I don't know if you've been listening to the radio, but there is a major storm coming our way. I just wanted to make sure you had enough food and candles in case the hydro goes out. I'm going to come over there and cut some more wood for your fireplace. No, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of wood in the back. But thank you anyway. What about food and candles? I don't have any candles, but I'll just drive into town and stock up on them and maybe grab a few more groceries. Okay, but if you need anything, just call me. In fact, when you come to town, let me buy you lunch. Please don't say no. It's just lunch, nothing else. You really are persistent, aren't you? Yes, I am. So will you let me buy you lunch? Okay, you can buy me lunch. I'll see you around 1. Great, it's a date, he said excitedly. No, it's not a date, she answers. He chuckled over the phone. I know it's not a real date. It's just an expression. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Hanging up the phone, she rolled her eyes, hoping that he wasn't going to get the wrong idea. Later, she headed into town. Going straight to the grocery store, she got a few things she thought she might need, along with some candles and matches. She then went to the diner to meet Ricky. He was already there and he got to his feet when he saw her. I was beginning to think you were standing me up, he said as he pulled her chair out for her. I'm sorry I'm late. I ended up getting a few more groceries than I planned on. You sure you don't want me to come out and cut some more wood? Just in case. There's plenty. So tell me what's good here for lunch, she asked, picking up her menu. Their chicken parmesan is really good. It's actually their specialty. Then that's what I'll have. Me too, he said as he waved the waitress over. After he ordered the special for the two of them, they started talking. You still love him, don't you? What? She asked, staring at him with a blank look on her face. Your husband, you're still in love with him. I can see it in your eyes, so my question is, why are you here? Can't you go back to him and make it work? He's my ex-husband and our marriage can't be fixed. What happened? She lowered her eyes. Her fingers played with the napkin on the table. He betrayed me in the worst way possible. At first, everything was perfect. He was perfect, but then he started working longer hours, sometimes not coming home until the wee hours of the morning. He was spending more time with his personal assistant, Hannah. We started fighting a lot. He couldn't see that she was after him. One Christmas Eve he went to his office to hand out Christmas bonuses. He was only going to stay and have one drink with them and then come right home. But he didn't. When I called his cell, she answered. She said he was busy taking a shower. It was then that I knew he was at her place and that they were having an affair. That Christmas Eve I needed him. I was in the hospital. I miscarried his child and he was too busy screwing another woman. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. How can a man cheat on a woman that's carrying his child? He didn't know I was pregnant, but neither did I until I went to the hospital, and they told me I was having a miscarriage. I went home later, packed my bags and flew to Alaska, where I stayed for about 6 months. Are you positive he was sleeping with this other woman? Isn't it possible that she just made you think that? He didn't come home that night, and she answered his phone. After the divorce and when I came back home, I would see his picture in the papers. She was always with him. It was obvious that they were a couple. No wonder you hate Christmas and don't want to celebrate it anymore. But you say it's been 2 years. It really is time you moved on. You're such a beautiful woman and you deserve to be happy. She wiped her tears away, just as the waitress brought their food over. Can we please not talk about this anymore? I don't even know why I told you everything. I'm glad you did. It always helps to talk to somebody about these things. So tell me about you. Isn't there a special woman in your life? He started cutting up his meat before answering. There is. That is, there was. Do you mind if I ask you what happened? He looked at her, smiling. I guess it's only fair since you told me your story. I was seeing this girl, Melissa. We had been going together for a while and I fell hard, and I thought she felt the same way about me. I asked her to marry me, but she turned me down flat. She did say she had feelings for me, but that she wasn't ready to get married, so we broke up. Could you not have given her more time instead of rushing it? I think you could be right. We had only been going out for a few months. Where is she now? Melissa still lives here in town. She works as a receptionist at the hospital. Leah felt sorry for him. She could tell that he still had feelings for the girl. She knew how that felt. Has she moved on with someone else? As far as I know, she's not been seeing anyone. I wish I could turn back the clock and not have proposed to her so soon. I think if I had given her more time, she would have said yes, but I blew it. Maybe not. You should try talking to her. See if she's willing to start over. Let her know you'll take it slow. That is, if you still love her. I do. She placed her hand over the top of his. Then talk to her. Don't wait too long. Do you really think I should? What if she turns me down again? You'll never know if you don't talk to her, and if she says no, then you can start getting over her and move on with your life. That's very good advice. Maybe you should take your own advice. She wiggled her finger at him. You naughty boy, you turned that around on me real quick. They both laughed and continued eating their lunch. After they were done eating, he paid the bill, and they went outside and talked for a few minutes. Thanks for lunch. I'm really glad I came. I enjoyed myself. The pleasure was all mine, he said. Then he looked up at the sky. The storm on its way. Make sure you have everything ready for the fireplace and some candles nearby in case the power goes out in the cabin. If you need me for anything, please call. I have a snowmobile that can make it through the heavy snow. She too looked up at the sky. The sky was turning dark. The wind was picking up and the snow started to fall. I will. Thanks again for lunch and make sure you talk to Melissa soon. Giving him a hug, she left him and got into her car and drove off. The winds picked up and the snow started coming down harder, making it hard to see out of her windshield. With care, she finally made it back to the cabin, taking her groceries wine inside. Wine was one of her guilty pleasures. She especially liked having a glass while reading. Worried that the power might go out, she decided to make a large pot of chili. That way she could heat it over the fireplace if she had to. The radio was playing nothing but Christmas music, so she turned on the small TV and listened to the news. The weather came on, stating that this was one of the worst winter storms ever that were headed their way, and everyone was advised to stay inside and prepare for the worst. Not wanting to have her car buried under snow, she was glad that she put it in the garage when she got back. When she went to bed that night, she lay there listening to the wind and watching the snowfall from her window. She had been here a little over a week, and had to admit that she was feeling a little lonely. She used to love nights like this when she was with Preston. They would snuggle up together under a blanket, sipping on wine and making out. She had drifted off to sleep, but sometime through the night she was awakened by a noise. Sitting up, her heart started racing. Fear crept through her body when she heard the front door opening and closing. Getting out of bed, she looked around for something to use as a weapon. Not finding anything, she grabbed her hairbrush and quietly left her room to confront whoever was breaking in. She let out a scream when she saw a huge figure by the door. It was dark and she couldn't make out who it was. Chapter 5. She screamed when the stranger came in, shutting the door behind him. Holding her hairbrush up in a defensive stand, she barked out, "I have a weapon, so you better leave now." She yelled at him. The man at the door placed his luggage down and turned on the light switch. "Leah, is that you?" he said, looking at the woman before him. His heart did flip-flops when he saw her standing there. He hadn't seen her in 2 years, and she still looked drop-dead gorgeous. "Preston," she said, lowering her arm. He smirked when he saw the brush in her hand. "Just how much damage do you think you can do with that?" he asked, pointing at what she had in her hand. Her heart was pounding so fast. It was like everything was moving in slow motion. "What the hell are you doing here?" Seeing him brought back tearful memories. He looked even more handsome now than he did when they were together. "The question is, what are you doing in my cabin?" he asked, taking off his coat and boots. "Your cabin? This is my cabin. I rented it for the month." He walked right past her, towards the fireplace, and began to light a fire. "You must be mistaken. I rented it a couple of weeks ago. I'm here for 2 weeks. She couldn't believe the audacity of him. The way he just walked in and started a fire, making himself at home. "For your information, I rented it over a month ago from Mr. Kringle for the month of December, so you can just put your coat back on and leave." He looked at her as if she were crazy. "Are you mad? Take a look outside. There's a blizzard out there. My car got stuck in the snow a mile from here, and I had to walk the rest of the way. I'm not going anywhere." Warming his hands by the fire, he turned his head to look at her. "There's nothing we can do about it tonight. Tomorrow I'll call Mr. Kringle and get this straightened out." "There's nothing to straighten out. This is my cabin and you can't stay here." She went and looked out the window. "I guess you'll have to stay here tonight, but only tonight. You can use the bedroom that's in the back." "I could use some coffee," he said, watching her face turn red. "Make it yourself. I'm going to bed, and I want you gone by morning." She snapped and headed to her bedroom. Once inside her room, she locked the door, walked over to the bed and sat down. It shocked the hell out of her to see him after all this time. But what really shocked her was him renting the same cabin as she had. How was that even possible? He couldn't help the smile that crept upon his face when she snapped at him and walked away. She still had that feistiness about her that he had always loved. He was just as shocked as she was to find that they found themselves at the same place after all this time. Going into the kitchen, he prepares a pot of coffee, wondering what the odds were about the two of them both renting the same cabin at the same time. His emotions were all over the place. He thought he hated her, but seeing her just now he felt something he hadn't felt in a couple of years. He realized he missed her and was still in love with her. But he couldn't forgive the way she just walked out on him without any explanation. Just a damn note saying the marriage was over and she was divorcing him. He sat down with his coffee, thinking about what he was going to do. Should he leave tomorrow and find somewhere else to stay, or should he make her leave? There was no way he could stay under the same roof with her. It would only turn out ugly. From the look on her face and the tone of her voice, she clearly hated him. Finishing his coffee, he placed the cup in the sink and headed to the room where he would be sleeping. He stopped at the door that he assumed she was in. He hesitated. Thinking about her laying in bed caused his member to throb. His thoughts went back to when they were married. They had so much passion and fire between them. And the S*X was amazing. He wanted to knock and go in and demand that she tell him why she left. But thinking better of it, he went to his own room. He lay in bed with his hands behind his head. He couldn't sleep. His imagination started running wild. He got to thinking that maybe she planned this. Maybe she wanted to get back together with him. But then no one knew where he was going except for his parents. Another thought struck him. What if she was in another relationship and the man was in the bedroom with her? Just thinking about her being with someone else had his blood boiling. He felt like going in there, grabbing the man by his throat and tossing him out into the snow. But he knew that was ridiculous since they were no longer together. But it still bothered him. After tossing and turning for what seemed like forever, he finally went to sleep. Waking up, she jumped out of bed, rubbing her eyes. She had to ask herself if she was dreaming that Preston was here. There was only one way to find out. She'd have to go and check. Throwing on a robe, she unlocked the door and walked into the living room. Her heart dropped when she saw him on the sofa, drinking coffee and reading some papers. He looked up when he saw her, his eyes sweeping over her from head to toe before speaking. "I've made coffee. Help yourself." "Of course, I'll help myself. After all, it is my coffee, and I was hoping you'd be gone by now," she said in a snarky tone. "You always were a grump before you had your first cup," he said with a smirk on his face. She went into the kitchen, took a cup from the cupboard and slammed the door shut. The one thing she had always hated about him was his smirk. Pouring herself some coffee, she heads back to tell him off. "You can't stay here." He looked up from what he was doing. "There's still a blizzard out there and the roads are closed, so it looks like I'm not going anywhere. Be a doll and get me some more coffee," he said, holding out the empty mug towards her. "Screw you, I'm not your maid." She goes over and looks out the window. He was right. It was still storming. Turning back to face him. "As long as you're here, you will cook and clean up after yourself. As soon as the roads open up, I expect you to leave." He got up and walked past her into the kitchen. "Yeah, about that. I've thought it over and decided since I've already paid the rent, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying." Her eyes widened in shock. "You can't be serious." Leaning against the counter, he stared at her. "Oh, I'm serious. We can't both stay here." "Then you leave," he said, smirking. "I was here first. I'm not leaving." "Then I guess we'll both be staying. It won't be so bad. The place is big enough for the two of us. I have lots of work to do, so I won't need you bothering me. I'll use the kitchen table as my workspace. You can use the living room to do whatever it is you do. You expect us both to stay here. Why not?" "Because we're divorced, that's why." "And whose fault is that?" he snapped, slamming his cup down. "You're the one who walked out on me. On Christmas of all times." Her bottom lip quivered. She had never seen him this angry before. "You know why. So don't be putting the blame on me." "No, I don't know why." He shakes his head, running his fingers through his hair. "It doesn't matter anymore. The bottom line is I'm not leaving, and if you won't leave, then we have to try and make this work. You stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours." He filled his cup up and walked back into the other room. Going over to the window, he looks out and watches the snow falling. He felt terrible when he saw her lip quivering, knowing he had scared her. He wasn't sure if he would be able to spend 2 weeks alone with her, but knowing he had so much work to do, he'd be able to avoid her as long as he kept his eyes and mind on all the manuscripts he had to read and the contracts he had to write up. She stormed back into her bedroom, her body shaking from anger. She couldn't believe he wouldn't leave. Well, she could be as stubborn as him. She would stay and make him so miserable. She would do everything she could to disturb his work. He had always been one who wanted quiet while he worked. Well, he was in for a surprise. After dressing, she goes back into the other room and opens her books with the designs she created. He was in the kitchen doing his own work. Turning on the radio, she cranked it up, playing pop music, something he hated with a passion. As soon as he heard the music, he knew she was doing this to piss him off. Slamming his fist on the table, he got to his feet and stormed into the living room. "Do you mind? I'm trying to get some work done." "I'm not stopping you," she said, and went back to working on her project. Storming across the room, he turned the sound down on the radio. "You know I can't work with all this noise." She waited an hour before going into the kitchen and started making herself a sandwich, making as much noise as she could. She could feel his eyes burning a hole in the back of her, knowing he was getting irritated. "What?" she asked, looking back at him. "Nothing," he answered, biting his tongue, and went back to work. Before leaving the kitchen, she looked at him. "I hope you aren't expecting any company to join you here." He looked back at her. "Who would I be expecting?" "Forget it." She wasn't about to ask if Hannah would be showing up. And if she were to show up, she would find her bum in a snowbank. "What about you? Are you expecting anyone?" "That's none of your business. As long as we're both staying here, there better not be. We may no longer be married, but I won't allow another man sleeping in your bed while I'm here. Now, if you don't mind, I need to finish this novel. You're not the boss of me, and it's none of your business who I have in my bed. But just so you know, I'm here alone." "Why? Why what?" she asked. "Why are you here alone at Christmas? I would have thought you'd be with your family. You always loved Christmas and spending time with them." "I still love being with my family. It's Christmas that I no longer like." "Listen, I've been thinking that since we both have to eat, we might as well come up with a reasonable solution. So I was thinking I would do the cooking, but you have to do the washing up." He nodded his head. "Deal." He was pleased to hear that, since he was a lousy cook whereas she was amazing. Chapter 6. He went to bed that night, feeling tense. She had been doing everything in her power to get on his nerves. She had always been one of those who cleaned as she cooked. But that night it was like she deliberately used every pot and pan in the cabin, knowing he had to do the washing up. Well, two people could play her game, he thought, as he laid out a plan to get on her nerves, and then maybe she would be the one to leave. The next day she woke up with a smile on her face. The look on his face when he saw all the dirty dishes was priceless. He was clearly not happy, and hopefully he would give up and leave. Now it was time to make breakfast, and she was going to dirty every dish in the place. Getting out of bed, she went and took a shower before starting their breakfast. When she finally came out, he was sitting at the table, a cup of coffee in his hand. She was not expecting him to be shirtless and wearing sweatpants. "Good, you're up. I was starting to get hungry," he said, seeing the way she was checking him out. "I'll start breakfast now. Can you please put a shirt on?" She walked into the kitchen. Seeing him that way rattled her. It was bad enough having him here, but for him to flaunt his upper body was so unfair. He had such an amazing body, and he still did. She swallowed the lump in her throat as she started preparing bacon and eggs. She could still remember what it felt like to have his strong arms wrapped around her, how his body felt pressed against hers. He peeked inside the kitchen. "I'll just take a quick shower before we eat. I won't take too long," he said, and walked away. He knew how she hated a messy bathroom and wet towels lying around, so he was going to make sure to leave one hell of a mess. She was sitting at the table eating when he walked in. His plate was sitting across from her, getting cold. She lowered her eyes when she saw him. What he had on wasn't any better. His sweatpants were tight on him, showing the outline of his manhood, and his t-shirt was straining against his muscular arms and chest. "You took too long. Your food is cold, but I'm not making you another plate." "It's all right. Since I've gotten here, I've become used to cold things," he said, smirking when he saw how she was avoiding looking at him. He glanced over at the counter and saw all the dirty pots and dishes but didn't comment. Ha ha, she said. Getting up, she put her plate in the sink. Walking away, she goes to use the bathroom. Preston, she screamed at the top of her lungs when she saw the wet towels on the floor. Everything was a total mess. His dirty clothes were also on the floor. The soap laid soggy in the tub, and there was toothpaste sticking onto the sink. He sat back in his chair and smiled, waiting for the storm that was sure to come his way. He didn't have long to wait. Walking into the bathroom, and seeing the wet towels laying on the floor along with his clothes, she started screaming his name. Picking everything up, she stormed into the kitchen. Walking up to him, she threw them at him. "What the hell, Preston?" she screeched at him. He had a sly grin on his face when he spoke. "Oops, sorry, I guess I'm used to my maid picking up after me." "Well, I'm not your maid. From now on, pick up after yourself, or you will find your clothes out in the snow," she snapped at him. Turning, she stomped out of the room. She couldn't believe the nerve of him. When they were together, he was never like this. He always picked up after himself, and since when did he have a maid? After cleaning up the bathroom, she went into the living room, picked up her laptop, and started working on the designs for the store. She could hear him in the kitchen typing on his computer. Every now and then a curse word would come from his mouth. It was time for some payback, she thought. She got up and headed into the kitchen. Going over to the coffee pot, poured herself a cup. "Grab one for me too, will you, babe?" "Don't call me babe," she said as she poured a cup for him. Walking over to him, and just as she was placing the cup on the table, she let it tip over. The hot liquid landed over top of one of the manuscripts. "Oops, I'm so sorry," she said, trying to hide the smirk on her face. When the coffee spilled onto the 3 chapters, he jumped to his feet. Grabbing the papers, he tried to wipe them off with a towel, swearing, "Look what you've done. How could you be so clumsy?" "It was an accident. I said I was sorry," she said, knowing full well that she did it on purpose. The papers were soaked. Words disappeared and he glared at her. "I think you did it on purpose. You have no idea what you've done, do you? Well, let me tell you. Without these first 3 chapters, I cannot determine if this man has a future with our company. You very well may have crushed his dreams of becoming a famous author." She stepped back, her face turned a light shade of red. "Who sends a paper manuscript these days? Isn't it usually done by email or a memory stick? Not everybody does it through the computer. Now I'm going to have to get in touch with him and see if he can send me another copy of these chapters. I honestly can't believe you did this. No matter how much you hate me, you shouldn't have taken it out on some poor schmuck. I really am sorry. I've got so much to do while I'm here and I'm behind as it is," he said as he sorted out some other papers. Feeling terrible about what she had done and seeing how stressed he looked, she felt she should help. "Is there anything I can do to help?" "Yeah, you can stay the *K away from me and go find somewhere else to stay." She felt like she was about to cry. He had never cussed at her and it cut deep. She turned and ran out of the room, running into her bedroom and shutting the door. If it wasn't storming, she would have walked into town. Maybe she could find somewhere to stay until she could make arrangements to go back home. But looking out the window and seeing how bad the weather was, she knew that leaving was impossible right now. He sat back down, drumming his fingers on the table. He knew it was wrong to swear at her like that, but damn it, he was angry. But the thing was, he wasn't really angry at what she had just done. It was what she had done 2 years ago, leaving and divorcing him. He got up and went to her bedroom, knocking once he entered. "Are you here to yell at me some more?" she asked, looking away from him. "I shouldn't have sworn at you. I guess I can't blame you. I wish there was a way I could do something to make up for it." "There is something you could do." "Like what?" she asked, looking at him suspiciously. "Not what you're thinking," he said, shaking his head. "I have several manuscripts to read, and I don't have enough time, so if you could read one of the stories for me and give me your opinion, and tell me what it's about, that would be a very big help." "You would trust me to do that?" "Yeah, I would. I remember how you used to help me when we were together and I got behind. Because of you, a couple of authors got their start and became best-selling authors. In some ways, you're better at this job than I am. Isn't that what you got Hannah for? She's good, but not as good as you. I should have hired you instead of her. So will you help me? I don't know. If you help me and I can get through some of these manuscripts, then I'll leave. She looked at him. You'll leave just like that? Yes, I'll leave. Us being here together is not a good idea for either one of us. So once the storm is over and my car gets pulled out from under the snow, I'll find somewhere else to go. Do we have a deal? All right, I'll do it. He handed her the memory stick to one of the stories that he was thinking of publishing. It's a very large novel, so take your time. Let me know if you think that it could be a winner, or if I should trash it. Taking it from his hand, she went to her laptop, and placing the memory stick in, she started reading. After reading the first 20 chapters, she stopped, took the memory stick out, went into the kitchen. He looked up when he saw her walking in. Surely you're not done already? I'm sorry, I read the first 20 chapters, and I couldn't read anymore. I hate to say it, but it was horrible. The plot didn't make sense and the story was all over the place. But that's just my opinion, and maybe you should read it yourself. No need. I trust your judgment. And to be honest, I did read the first couple of chapters, and it didn't touch me the way the others did. Here, try this one and let me know what you think, he said, handing her another memory stick. Were you able to get in touch with that other guy and have him send you the chapters that got ruined? Yeah, luckily for me, he was able to email me the missing chapters. That's good, she said. Turning away, she went back into the living room to check out the new story. She lost track of time, and when she saw how dark it was getting outside, her stomach started to growl. She was glad that she had made up a pot of chili before, so she just heated some of that up for the two of them. He was pleased to see that there wasn't a sink full of dishes to be washed up. I think it would be a good idea that until I leave we should call a truce. No more playing games with each other. I don't know what you're talking about, she said innocently. Yes, you do. We've both been doing things the last couple of days to get on each other's nerves. I say we stop, and as soon as the weather lets up I'll be on my way. Okay, but I still want you to stay out of my way. Same here, he replied as he finished his bowl of chili. I'd forgotten how good your chili was. It was always my favorite. I remember. You always asked for seconds. There was a moment of silence between them, each one thinking of the past. I think I will grab a glass of wine, then I'm going to the other room and finish reading the story while you do the dishes. All right, I've got some calls to make anyway, he said. Getting up, he takes the dishes over to the sink. Chapter 7. She woke up the next morning and went into the kitchen. She found him there, sitting at the table working and drinking coffee. Going over to the counter, she poured herself a cup before starting breakfast. He looked up at her. I noticed your light was on quite late last night. I couldn't stop reading that last novel you gave me. Was it that good? He asked, raising an eyebrow. It was the best thing I've read in a long time. It had heart, made me feel all kinds of emotions. You'd be crazy if you don't buy it and sign him up. So it's that good. Preston, it had me laughing, crying. You really should read it and see for yourself. I'm sure you'll agree with me. Getting up, he poured himself another cup of coffee, standing really close to her. I'll flip through it, but if you feel that strongly about it, then I'll sign him up. He was so close he could smell her shampoo. It smelled like strawberry. Her heart started racing when she saw the way he was looking at her. His body touched hers when he reached for the coffee pot. His face moved closer to hers, and she knew he was going to kiss her, but she couldn't move away. You're still so beautiful. Just as he was about to kiss her, there was a loud knock at the door. They both moved away from each other, looking flustered. I'll go see who it is, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Walking to the door, he cursed under his breath. He was so close to kissing her, and she wasn't stopping him until some fool had to come knocking on the door. When he opened the door, he found a young man whose smile turned into a frown. Yeah, what do you want? He asked in a snarky tone. I am looking for Leah. He looked the young man over with a scowl on his face. Who the hell are you? I'm Ricky, a friend of hers. Who are you? I'm her husband. What do you want with her? Leah came out from the kitchen to see who was at the door. Ricky, what are you doing out in this weather? For heaven's sake, get inside here where it's warm. Ricky stepped inside. The storm is past and I thought you might like to go for a ride on my snowmobile, and then go for some breakfast. But I see your husband is here. She could feel Preston's eyes burrowing into her, so she turned to give him a dirty look, knowing he introduced himself as her husband, ex-husband, and it's a long story, she said, turning back to Ricky. Ricky saw the way they were looking at each other, and he was feeling uncomfortable. I don't suppose you want to go for a ride then? Actually, I would love to. It'll be nice to get out for a bit after being stuck inside for the last few days. Just give me one moment to change into something warmer. When she left, the two guys stood there with Preston staring at him. So you're the ex-husband? Ricky asked, not liking the way the older man was staring at him. So you're the new boyfriend? No, we just met. Don't get your hopes up, boy. She's way out of your league. Before Ricky could say anything, she came back into the room. What about our breakfast? Preston asked when she started putting her coat and boots on. You're a big boy. I'm sure you can feed yourself. When they got outside, he handed her a helmet to put on. I got the feeling your ex wasn't happy about me being here. It's a long story. Well, let me take you into town and buy you breakfast, and you can tell me all about it. He glanced over at the cabin and could see Preston looking out the window. This was the first time she had been on a snowmobile, and she really enjoyed it and was disappointed when they got into town and had to get off. She followed him into the restaurant, where they sat down at a table by the window. After ordering their food, he turned to look at her. So how is it that your ex-husband showed up at the cabin? She shook her head. I have no idea how it happened. I rented the cabin from Mr. Kringle a while back, and apparently, Preston rented it a couple of weeks ago. I can't understand how Mr. Kringle could make such a mistake. It's possible that you talked to the father and your ex-husband must have talked to his son. It has happened a couple of times before. It must be really awkward having him there. You can say that again. I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and it was a real shock to see him, but we've come to an agreement. I'll help him with some of the manuscripts he has to go through, and once his car is out of the ditch, he said he'll leave and go somewhere else to stay, hopefully far away. Manuscripts? Is he a writer? No, he owns his own publishing company. He started off as a partner, but soon he took it all over. Wow, that must have taken a lot of hard work and long hours. It did. That was part of the problem. He worked so many hours. There were times he didn't come home until the early hours of the morning. I felt we were drifting apart, and we always ended up fighting about his assistant. She never gave him my messages, and I know she was putting the moves on him, but he said I was imagining it. I'm so sorry, Leah, but you really should talk to him about it now that he's here. From what you've told me before, you never really gave him a chance to explain. Too much time has passed. He's moved on, started a new life without me, she said, looking down at her plate of food. A sadness washed over her. There was something about Ricky, something that had her telling him everything about her life with Preston. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Preston was pissed off about being interrupted just as he was about to kiss her. Then when he saw the man and the way he was looking at her, he got jealous. Even though he had no right to be. He looked outside and seeing how it had stopped snowing, he decided to walk into town. He needed to find a garage and have them get his car out of the ditch that was probably by now buried deep under the snow. While he was there, he would go to the restaurant and join them for breakfast. It didn't take him long to reach the small town. He stopped an elderly couple and asked them where the nearest garage was. After telling him they wished him a Merry Christmas, begrudgingly he said it back. The truth was, ever since she had left him, he hated Christmas too and always shied from it. At the garage, he told them where his car was. He was told they were busy and would get to it in a day or two. What choice did he have but to wait a couple more days? Where's the nearest store where I can buy a razor and some batteries? He asked the man behind the counter. Just walk down the street and you'll see a store called Kringle's. Kringle. Is he the one who owns the cabin a mile out of town? That's right, sir. He wouldn't happen to be in town, would he? Not likely. This is his busy time of year, but we never know when he'll pop in. All right, thank you, he said and walked down the street until he came to the store. Going inside, he looked around. It was a quaint little store, and had everything in it. As he was looking for what he needed, he heard a Christmas song come on. Turning his head, he noticed a musical snow globe. Like in a trance, he walked slowly towards it, leaning over to get a better look at it. His eyes were glued to it as it turned itself on and played "All I Want for Christmas Is You." He felt the flutter in his heart as he kept staring at it. The couple inside the globe was dancing in the snow. The woman looked like Leah. She had on a red dress and her hair was done up on top of her head. And the man resembled him. It was the same dress she wore the night he proposed to her, on Christmas Eve, and they had danced to that very song. "It's a lovely globe. Are you interested in buying it?" the sales lady asked when she approached him. He didn't realize anyone was standing next to him. He jumped and turned to look at her. No, I won't be buying it," he said and turned back to look at it. He blinked a couple of times when he looked at it. It no longer resembled them and the song stopped playing. He shook his head, wondering if he was losing his mind. "I'm just here to get some batteries and a razor." After picking out what he needed and paying for them, he asked if Mr. Kringle was around. "No, he should be back later tonight. I'm his wife. Can I help you?" He explained what had happened with the double booking and was a little surprised when she just laughed it off. "Oh my, now that was probably my son's doing. He sometimes will rent it without telling my husband. This has happened several times before. The funny thing is though, the ones who booked the cabin ended up falling in love and are now happily married. It's like a Christmas miracle, a time for love and forgiveness. I don't believe in miracles or Christmas, not anymore," he said and left the store. He walked down the street, watching the people as they walked past him, with presents in their arms as they wished him Merry Christmas. He remembered a time when he and Leah would go shopping, buying gifts for their families. They would hold hands, stopping to kiss every now and then. Christmas was a magical time for them. That was until things started going wrong. Just before going inside the restaurant, he watched as some children played in the snow, making snowmen and having a snowball fight. There was something about a child's laughter that melted his heart, and seeing their faces light up on Christmas morning was priceless. He and Leah spoiled the children of all of their friends, hoping to have some of their own. But with him just starting up his company, they decided to hold off until the time was right. Sadness gripped his heart like a vice grip when he realized it was not meant to be. Taking a deep breath, he walked into the restaurant and looked around for her, finally spotting them at one of the tables near the back. Chapter 8. He walked over to them, smiling when he saw the look of surprise on their faces, and sat down next to her without asking. "So what's good here?" he asked, picking up his menu. "What are you doing here?" she asked, moving further away from him. "I had to pick a few things up, so I thought I'd grab breakfast, since you didn't make any." "What? Am I interrupting your date?" "It's not a date," she said, snapping at him. He smiled. "I also went to the garage to see if they could tow my car out of the ditch, but apparently, they are busy and it might take a couple of days before they can do it. Looks like you're stuck with me for a while longer." She looked over at Ricky. "Is there a bed and breakfast where he can stay?" "There is," he replied. She turned to Preston, smirking. "There you go. But it's full, being the Christmas season and all," Ricky said, looking from one to the other. He may just be a country boy, but even he could feel the sparks between the two of them. Just then his phone rang. Looking at it, he stood up. "I need to answer this. I'll be right back," he said and walked outside. Preston looked at her and shook his head. "Really, Leah? He's not your type." "Oh, shut up. You have no clue what my type is, and he's a nice man. Don't tell me you're jealous. You lost that privilege a long time ago." He was always possessive when they were together, letting other men know she was his. Ricky came back and placed money on the table to pay for their food. "I'm sorry, that was my dad. There's been an accident outside of town, and I need to go with him to tow the vehicles back here." "That's okay. I'll see she gets home all right." Ricky looked back at him. "I wonder if you'd like to help us tonight. With this storm we had torn off some of the railing and decorations on our gazebo. We need to repair it before the Christmas festival." "Christmas festival?" he asked, looking back at Ricky. Yeah, we set up booths, selling Christmas items, food, and the kids have fun skating. It's also when we light up the tree in the gazebo. You really have to see it. It's beautiful. I'm afraid Preston isn't one for manual labor, she said, giggling. He frowned when he looked at her, then back at Ricky. I'll be there. That would be great, he said, taking out the keys to his snowmobile and placing them on the table. Here, you can use my snowmobile to get home and to come back. I'll see you both tonight. When he was gone, she stared at Preston. Since when do you do anything other than hire someone to do manual labor? Who are you trying to impress? I know how to do other things besides sitting behind a desk. Maybe if you had stuck around instead of running away, you might have found that out for yourself, he said, angrily taking a bite of his pancakes. She sat there, her fingers tracing the outline of her coffee mug. It boggled her mind how he could blame her for their marriage ending when it was him that was sleeping with his assistant. Not wanting to fight with him in the restaurant, she kept quiet while he ate his breakfast. If it weren't for the fact that he was sitting beside her, and she was against the wall, she would have gotten up and left and walked home. When he was done with his meal, he paid the bill. They walked outside and went over to the snowmobile. Do you know how to drive one of these things? She asked, getting on behind him. It's been quite a few years, but I think it's like riding a bicycle. Once you've done it, you never forget. You've never told me that before. It was a long time ago when my parents and I went on a skiing vacation. I was about 15 or 16 at the time, and they had snowmobiles there. I asked if I could ride one, so someone taught me. Put your helmet on before we go, he said as he started up the engine. She put her arms around him and hung on. She closed her eyes, thinking how good it felt having her arms around him, just like in the old days. He liked having her arms around him, and not wanting it to end, he didn't go straight home. Instead, he drove around. When she didn't protest, he took that as a good sign that maybe she was enjoying being with him. After a while, he stopped and turned off the snowmobile, and they both got off. She looked around at the scenery. The snow on the tree sparkled from the sunlight, making it a beautiful winter scene. It looks so pretty. We don't see things like this in the city. He stood next to her. I know. There's so much more you can do in a place like this that you can't do in a city. Like what? She asked, turning her head to look at him. Well, going for a ride on the snowmobile, or making a snowman in the snow, or this, he said, pushing her down into the snow and started laughing. She wiped the snow from her face and glared up at him. You jackass, why did you do that? Because I thought it would be funny, and I was right. You should have seen the look on your face, he said, and started laughing again. He stopped laughing when he felt a snowball slamming into his face. She was on her feet smiling. Cold, isn't it? He bent down and scooped up a handful of snow, making a snowball, and snickered. So you want to play games? You wouldn't, she said, shaking her head. Smiling, he dropped the snowball. No, I pushed you down into the snow. I think that's enough. He walked over to her. His hand reached out and tucked her hair behind her ear. I remember that time you cut your hair. I always liked it long. Leah, I think we should head back to the cabin now. He was about to say something else and decided against it. He knew he was still in love with her, but she had hurt him so badly in the past, and he couldn't bear to be hurt again. Things became quiet between them after that. She made dinner while he finished up the last of the manuscripts. She made cordon bleu and a salad for dinner. Once they were done eating and he had done the dishes, they got back on the snowmobile and headed into town. There they were put right to work. He helped the men fix the gazebo, while she helped the women decorate and hand out hot cocoa to everyone. Christmas music was playing over the loudspeaker. Children were running around laughing and playing. Everyone was in a festive mood except for Preston and Leah, who wanted to avoid Christmas at all costs, but found themselves in the middle of it once again. Mrs. Kringle went over to her, handing her a cup of hot cocoa. You've been working so hard, sweetheart. I'm sure you could use this to warm up. Leah gave her a warm smile, and she took the cup from her hand. Thank you, she said, taking a sip of her cocoa. Oh wow, this is delicious. I'm glad you like it. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why would such a young and beautiful woman want to rent a cabin up here all alone? I was trying to get away from Christmas. Oh honey, you can't run away from Christmas. No matter where you go, you can't stop Christmas from happening. I understand that's your husband over there. He's my ex-husband, who just happened to rent the same cabin at the same time I did. Yes, I heard about the mix-up. You still love him. I can see it in your eyes when you look at him. Perhaps with the two of you being here together, you might be able to patch things up. That's not possible, she answered sadly. When there is love between two people, anything is possible. It's Christmas, it's a time when miracles happen. Love was never the problem between us. It was the trust that broke us apart. The way he's playing with those children means he must be a good man. Playing with children, she said and turned around. She watched as he was being chased by a few of the children trying to hit him with snowballs. He was laughing, and when he fell to the ground he covered his face, begging them to stop, which of course they didn't. I think someday he's going to make a great father, Mrs. Kringle said before walking away. When she saw him looking her way, she turned her back and continued with the decorating. Moments later she saw Ricky approaching her, and he was with a woman. Hi Leah, I'd like you to meet my girlfriend, Melissa. She gave the young woman a genuine smile. Melissa was a couple of inches shorter than Ricky. She had the most beautiful long red hair she had ever seen, with a few freckles running across her nose. It's a pleasure to meet you. Ricky's told me all about you. I'm happy to meet you too. Ricky's also told me about you and your husband. I hope the two of you can patch things up. She swallowed hard. Did everybody in this town know about her and Preston? She asked herself. Ricky noticed Leah's discomfort and changed the subject. I hope you'll be here for the festival tomorrow night. I bet if you're a good girl, Santa will take you for a ride in his sleigh. I don't know if I'll be here. I'm not really in the mood for Christmas. So would you rather stay cooped up in that small cabin with your ex-husband? I think you'd have more fun here with all of us, enjoying yourself. She wagged her finger at him. You play dirty. So we'll see you here then. She knew he was right. It would be better than staying at home with Preston. Yeah, I'll come. Little did she know that Preston would also be there. After a few hours, the town people along with Preston and Leah had everything done. The repairs were made, the booth set up ready to be filled with goods, and she even agreed to bake some Christmas cookies for tomorrow. Everyone hoped that the Christmas lights would work. They were not going to turn them on until tomorrow night at the festival. When they got home, she started baking the Christmas cookies while he sat at the kitchen table laying out some contracts for a couple of his new clients. Were you upset when you saw your boyfriend with another woman? He asked, stopping what he was doing. Damn you, Preston. I told you he's not my boyfriend, and no, I wasn't upset. For your information, that was his girlfriend, whom he is very much in love with. We are just friends. Good to know, he said, going back to what he was doing. She wasn't sure what he meant by that. Was it the part when she said he wasn't her boyfriend, or the part where she said that was Ricky's girlfriend, who he was very much in love with? Either way, she wanted to wipe that smirk off his face. Cookies finished and left to cool off, she told him she was going to bed. Would you like me to come with you and keep you warm? Stop being such an ass, she snapped back at him. Getting up from his chair, he walked over to her. Standing in front of her, he reached around and grabbed one of the cookies. Lighten up, I'm just having some fun with you. But if you change your mind, just whistle. Placing her hand on his chest, she shoved him back out of the way. Don't hold your breath, she said as she walked away. Chapter 9. The next day, after making their breakfast, she started making more Christmas cookies for the sale. She ignored Preston, still fuming over his behavior from the night before. When he told her he was going outside to chop some more wood, all she did was shrug her shoulders. But every now and then she would look out the window and watch him. At first, she was a little worried that he might hurt himself, like cut off a leg or foot, but to her amazement, he was doing just fine. This was another thing about him she never knew about. She never knew he could do something like chop wood. It got her feeling sad, thinking that she never really knew him when they were married. After all, they did kind of rush into things. sleeping together the first night they met and getting married shortly afterwards. But regardless of the short time that they knew each other before they married, the one thing she knew for sure was that she loved him with all of her heart. "So are you still planning on going to the festival tonight?" he asked when he came back inside. "Yes, I am. I'll go with you." Turning her head in his direction, she stopped what she was doing. "You don't have to go. I know it's not your thing." "Well, we have the snowmobile that Ricky said we could use, so I might as well drive you into town and stay for a while. Besides, you'll need someone to help you carry all those cookies you made." She turned back around and placed the cookies in their containers. "Why did you come here?" Leaning against the counter, he crossed his arms. "I told you why I came here. I know what you told me, but I'm just wondering if you came here on purpose, that you knew I was here." "I had no idea that you were here, and if I did I never would have come. I told you I came here to get some work done. Back home there were too many distractions, parties, people coming around. I had to get away from it all. I needed some peace and quiet." "I'm actually surprised that you didn't bring Hannah with you." "Why the hell would I bring her with me? I'm sure she wanted to spend Christmas with you. You've always been jealous of her. You never had any reason to be." "Are you kidding me? You spent more time with her than you did me." "It was just work. I was building up my company." She swung around to face him, her eyes blazing with fury. "I wanted to be your assistant when you started advertising. You were going to give it to me until she showed up. Ever since she came to work for you I never saw you. You never came home until morning and always smelled of booze and cheap perfume." He slammed his fist on the counter, making her jump. "For foo *k sake. She was more qualified, and I didn't think us being together 24/7 would be a good idea." "Well, it didn't turn out much better the other way. I'm going to change for the festival," she said as she walked away and headed toward her bedroom. She sat down on the bed, covering her face with her hands as she shed some tears. She still believed that he had cheated on her. Why else would he hire Hannah and not her? When she had stormed out of the room, he sat down, rubbing his forehead. They weren't even married anymore, and they were still fighting about Hannah. He couldn't take much more of this, so when he got to the festival he would try and talk Ricky and his father into pulling his car out of the ditch. He needed to get away from her and leave as soon as possible. Later that evening they put the containers of cookies into the compartment on the snowmobile and headed into town. Neither one spoke to the other. Mrs. Kringle spotted them as soon as they walked up to the entrance and ran over to them. "I'm so glad you're here. One of my girls couldn't make it and I need somebody in the booth to sell these wonderful cookies you made. Would you be a doll and fill in for her?" Leah looked up at the woman who barely came up to her chin. She had a round face and white hair, and the smile she gave could melt anyone's heart. "I'd be happy to help you out," she said with a smile on her face. "Thank you, sweetheart," she said and then turned to Preston. "Maybe you could help my husband load the gifts for the children into his sleigh." "Gifts?" he asked, looking at her. "Yes, the town gets together and donates toys to the less fortunate and hands them out. Since the factory shut down it left a lot of people out of work. My husband isn't getting any younger, and I'd be forever grateful if you would give him a hand." "I'll be happy to. Where can I find him?" "He's in there," she said, pointing to a barn. As he was walking away she shouted out, "You can't miss him. He's the one in the Santa suit. Just great. That's all I need. Helping a man in a Santa suit. He probably has reindeers," he muttered under his breath, as he headed to an old barn that had seen better days. He walked inside and saw two men, and one in a Santa suit. Going over he stopped behind Santa's back. "Mr. Kringle, your wife said you needed some help." He was surprised to see the way he looked. A long white beard, a big belly. He looked just like Santa Claus. "Wow, you really go all out, don't you?" Mr. Kringle turned around and chuckled. "'Tis the season for it, Mr. Phillips. Wait, we've never met in person, and I didn't tell you my name." Ignoring him, he started handing him the gifts. "If you could just help the others load this onto the sleigh, I'd appreciate it. And thanks for helping. I've been meaning to talk to you about the cabin. How you doubled booked it. Sorry about that." It was my son you talked to. Yes, your wife did say that. I'll be happy to give you a refund. Don't worry about it. It's just awkward being there with my ex-wife. Maybe this is a good thing. You might end up getting back together. That's not going to happen. She hates me. It's Christmas, Mr. Phillips, a time when a miracle can happen. It would take one for her and me to get back together, he said, grabbing some gifts and walking over to the sleigh. He actually found himself enjoying the others' company, and even started humming along to the Christmas music. When they were done loading the sleigh, he figured he'd go see how Leah was doing. He found her behind the counter in the booth, so he stopped and got her some hot chocolate. You look like you could use this, he said, handing it to her. Thanks. Looks like you've sold most of your cookies. Yes, everyone seems to love my cookies. I've had your cookies, and I loved them, he said with a glint in his eyes. She rolled her eyes, knowing exactly what he meant. If you don't want to hang around, I can find my own way home. I think I'll hang around and watch when they hand out the gifts to the kids. I'd also like to see the tree in the gazebo being lit up since I helped to get it ready. You're almost done here, so let's go watch the kids together. When the last of the cookies were sold, they walked together, checking out the other booths. It started to snow lightly and people were singing Christmas songs. Then it was time to give out the gifts. They stood side by side watching as the children one by one sat on Santa's knee and got their gift and a bag of candy from him. It must be so nice to be young. Too bad we have to grow up to the harsh realities of life. I wish I were a kid again, and not to feel this pain I've been feeling for so long, she said, choking back a sob. He knew she was talking about them. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I never meant to. She shook her head when she looked at him. It wasn't all your fault. I still don't know what I did that was so bad to make you leave me. Sighing, she turned away from him, wondering how he couldn't know. They're about to turn on the lights, she said, and started walking towards the gazebo. He followed her, standing next to her behind the crowd of people. He watched her face when the lights were turned on. She had a smile on her face, one he hadn't seen in a long time. It's amazing, she said as she watched the lights twinkling. He kept his eyes on her, slipping her hand inside his. I've missed you. She turned to face him. She could see in his eyes that he was telling the truth. Her eyes watered up and her heart was racing. I've missed you too. Letting go of her hand, he placed the palms of his hands on both sides of her face, staring deep into her eyes. I love you. I've never stopped loving you. He lowered his lips onto hers, putting his arms around her, pulled her closer. Kissing her felt like being in heaven, and she was kissing him back, her arms going around his neck. When he broke the kiss, she traced his lips with her fingers. I've never stopped loving you either. Not a day went by that I didn't think about you. I've missed you so much, she said, pulling his head down for another kiss. The Kringles smiled, holding hands as they watched the young couple kissing and then leaving the park. Looks like it worked, he said to his wife. Oh yes, another Christmas miracle. Chapter 10. As soon as they entered the cabin, he shut the door and pulled her into his arms and started kissing her. Placing her hand on his chest, she moved him back an inch. Shouldn't we talk about this? She asked. Her heart was racing, her core was throbbing, and she felt her panties getting wet. It had been so long since she had felt his touch. He brushed her hair over to the side. We can talk later. Right now I'm going to light a fire in the fireplace while you change into something more comfortable, an S**XY. She went into her bedroom and took out a white satin nightgown. She wasn't even sure why she had packed it in the first place, but was glad she had. As she was putting it on, she got to thinking that maybe they were moving too fast, and was determined to talk to him before it went any further. He had gotten the fire going and had removed his shirt when he heard her enter the living room. He felt a twinge of nervousness when he saw her. His heart was beating so fast inside his chest that he thought it was going to burst. You're so beautiful. Come here, he said, motioning for her to come closer. She walked over and stood in front of him, looking up into his eyes. Preston, before we go any further, we really need to talk. He cupped her face in his hands, using the pads of his thumbs to gently stroke her cheek. We have all the time in the world to talk. I've been dreaming of this moment for 2 years. I can't wait another minute to touch you, to kiss you, to make love to you," he said. Putting his arms around her waist, his lips came crashing down on hers in a long and passionate kiss, as he slowly lowered her to the floor. She wrapped her arms tightly around his back. When she felt her body being lowered down onto the soft bearskin rug, she returned his kiss with as much passion as he was, their tongues exploring the inside of each other's mouths. She also felt her nightgown being pulled down over her shoulders, exposing her breasts, his hand massaging them. He always did have a way of touching and caressing them that drove her mad with desire. Her back automatically arched when he tore his lips from hers and moved down her neck to her breasts, taking one in his mouth as his hand traveled down her body until he reached between her legs. Pushing them apart, he placed his hand over her wetness. She mo asterisk Ned, when he pushed in a couple of fingers and began stroking in and out, bringing her to an org asterisk SM that shook her to the very core. "I've missed you. I've missed touching and feeling you," he said after having pleasured her with his fingers. He slid her nightgown off all the way and removed his pants before climbing back on top of her. He claimed her mouth with the dominance of a man possessed, one who wanted to possess her, body and soul. Her eyes closed and she mo asterisk Ned into his mouth when she felt his hardness thrusting inside her. He filled her to the fullest, making her scream out his name when he hit her sweet spot. He kept thrusting faster and harder inside her. It was rough, intense, but felt so good. She was about to come and knew he was close too, when she felt his snake throbbing as he gave 2 more hard and deep thrusts. Being with her again, making love to her, he forgot about his anger towards her for leaving him. All that mattered now was that they were together. This could be a new beginning for them. Giving her another passionate kiss, he pulled out and rolled over onto his side. Putting his arm over her stomach, he pulled her into his arms. "Oh, how I've missed this. We were always so good in bed together. I remember. It was always great, even right from the very beginning until the end," she said, swallowing the lump in her throat when she thought about the 2 years they missed being together. He stroked her back with the tips of his fingers. "You never should have left me, but it's all right now that we're back together." She lifted her head to look at him. "You make it sound like it was all my fault." "Well, you did just leave without an explanation. You know why I left." "Leah, I had no clue as to why you just upped and left me." Moving out of his arms, she reached for her nightgown and put it on. Getting up, she stared down at him. "Why, you self-righteous, arrogant son of a bitch," she snapped and walked away, going into the kitchen to grab a drink of water. Pulling on his pants, he followed her, grabbed her by the shoulders, turned her around to face him. "You never explained why you left me. All I got was a foo asterisk king note saying the marriage was over. So tell me why you left and broke my heart." "I broke your heart?" "Yes, I was devastated. I couldn't eat or sleep. I kept going over in my mind what would make you leave. I left because you were screwing Hannah." "What the hell are you talking about? I've told you before that there was nothing going on between us. I did not sleep with that woman." She swatted his hands away, not wanting him to touch her. "Night after night you worked late with her, not coming home until early in the morning and smelling of booze and cheap perfume. I had explained all that to you. We would have a drink together, and I don't know how her perfume got on me. That Christmas Eve you said you'd be right back, but you never came home. You didn't even have the decency to come to the hospital to pick me up." "Hospital? What are you talking about? I called you that night and Hannah answered your cell phone. I asked to speak to you, but she said you were in the shower, and that she would get you to call me back. I told her I was in the hospital, and that I needed you, but you never showed up. That was when I knew for sure you'd been sleeping with her." He started pacing back and forth, running his fingers through his hair. "I swear on my life that I never slept with that woman. That night I went to the Christmas party and handed out the Christmas bonuses. Hannah talked me into having one drink. I only had that one drink. I swear I don't know what happened, but I woke up in my office on the sofa. When I checked the time, I saw it was almost morning, so I hurried home. When I got there you were gone. There was only a note and your wedding rings were left on the table. I was not at her place or anywhere with her, and I definitely wasn't in the shower. I didn't know you were in the hospital. Why were you there? The tears started falling down her face. Crossing her arms, she looked back at him, not sure if he was telling the truth or not. I was there because I was having a miscarriage. His eyes widened and his face turned pale. I didn't know you were pregnant. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know until I got to the hospital, and they told me I was having a miscarriage. I needed you that night. I thought you didn't care, and that you were too busy with Hannah. He rushed over to her side, placing his hands on her shoulders. I'm so sorry. If only I had known, I would have been there in a flash. Hannah never gave me any message, but then again, I was out cold. She must have drugged me. Baby, you got to believe me. I have never betrayed you. I haven't even been with another woman since you. Do you really think she might have drugged you? If she didn't, someone did. I swear when I get back home, I'll ask her. I doubt she'll tell you the truth. You could never see it, but she had been after you the moment she started working for you. I never paid her any attention, or gave her any indication that I was interested in her. I thought you moved on with her. What makes you think that? I would see the pictures of the two of you together at different functions. She was all over you and it looked like you two were an item. We were only together at business functions, but we never went as a couple. I would always meet her there, and now that I think about it, as soon as the press came over to me she would be there, putting her arm through mine when they took the pictures. I could never move on with her or any other woman when I was still deeply in love with you. She went and buried her face in his chest, letting the tears fall. I'm so sorry. You were right. I should have talked to you in person and let you explain. But Hannah convinced me that the two of you were involved. Because of that bitch we've missed 2 years together. I should have gone after you. I should have hunted you down and forced you to tell me why you left. I'm just as much to blame. I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me for leaving? He cupped her face in his hands. I love you, and we found our way back to each other, so there's nothing to forgive. When I get back home, I hope you'll come with me. Hannah won't be happy about that. I don't give a shit if she's happy or not. I'm going to fire her bum as soon as I get back. She took a deep breath. Her thoughts were all over the place. She owed it to both of them to believe him and to try again. Preston, I love you and I want to be with you, but if there's anything else you need to tell me, you have to tell me now if you want us to work. There's nothing to tell, he said. Picking her up, he carried her to one of the bedrooms and laid her down. Having her back in his life and arms, he was happier than he'd ever been. Maybe Mr. Kringle was right. Miracles can happen. They spent the rest of that night making love, declaring their love for each other, but they still found it weird that they both ended up at the same cabin together, and the musical snow globe still haunted their thoughts. It was a few days before Christmas, and now being in the Christmas mood, they decided they would start decorating the cabin with Christmas decorations. Each one decided not to call their parents and tell them what was going on. They wanted to wait until they saw them in person. Chapter 11. He woke up with her in his arms. Smiling, he leaned over and kissed her gently on the lips. Good morning, beautiful, he said when she opened her eyes and looked at him. Preston. She whispered his name just as his lips came back down on hers. He was much more gentle this time when he made love to her. He took his time pleasuring her before getting his own release. What we talked about last night, about you coming home with me, you never did give me your answer. She lay contently in his arms. It's been 2 years and I think we should take it slow, one day at a time. So you want me to court you, to take you out on dates? She started giggling. Courting is such an old-fashioned word, but yes, I think we should date for a while. I'll do whatever it takes to get you back, but we have a few days before we have to leave here, so let's make the best of it. I say we get up, take a shower together, and start putting up some decorations. I'll go into town and get us a tree, and you can get out the decorations. How are you going to get a tree here? I still have Ricky's snowmobile. I can tie it to the back of it and drag it home. Sounds good to me, she said, getting out of bed and racing him to the shower. With a smile on his face, he headed into town. He felt like a new man. Not only did he get laid after 2 years of being without S**x, he was also getting the love of his life back. And he wasn't going to wait long in getting her to move back in with him. He went straight to the lot that was selling trees and picked one out. Running into Ricky. Ricky eyed the tree. Is this for the cabin? Yes, it's kind of small, but it will do. I thought Leah didn't want a tree. In fact, she told me she didn't want to have anything to do with Christmas this year. Well, things have changed. Leah and I have reconciled. She's now in the festive mood as I am. You're welcome to drop by later for a drink. You can even bring your girlfriend. Ricky nodded his head. I'd like that. We'll see you later. Preston stopped and picked up a couple of bottles of wine. He also bought a bouquet of flowers, hoping they wouldn't fall off the snowmobile on the way back to the cabin, which they ended up doing without him noticing. Meanwhile, Leah finished cleaning up the cabin and started going through the boxes of decorations. There was everything they needed to decorate the tree and the inside of the cabin. By the time he got back, she had the living room decorated. All that was needed now was the tree. For the first time in 2 years, she was looking forward to Christmas. Walking in with the tree, he smiled when he saw what she had accomplished while he was gone. Wow, the place looks great. How did you do all this in such a short time? She gave him a smile and pointed to where she wanted him to put the tree. You'd be surprised at what all I can do with you not pestering me. Once he had it just where she wanted it, they then began to decorate it. First, he put the lights on and checked to make sure they worked. They were both thrilled when the lights turned on. After they were done, they stood back to admire it. He stood behind her with his arms around her waist. I've missed all of this. The tree, lights, but mostly being with you. She placed her hands over his, leaning back into him. Me too, she said just as her phone started ringing. Moving from his hold, she picked up her phone and looked to see who was calling her. It's Mom. I better take this. Okay, I'll get rid of these boxes and give you some privacy, he said. Kissing her cheek, he left her alone. Hi, Mom. Hi, sweetheart. I haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything all right? Everything is great. You sound happy. I am. I have something to tell you. Preston is here. Really? You don't sound surprised. Oh, I am. So from the sound of your voice, I gather you two have made up. Yes, we had a long talk and he explained everything to me. You were right, Mom. I should have talked to him before jumping to conclusions. So are you two getting back together? Well, we're taking it slow, but I believe we will be soon. Mom, I've got to go. We're expecting company, so I'll call you later. Okay, sweetheart. Love you. Love you to Mom. And say hi to Dad for me. I will. Bye. How's your mom and dad doing? He asked when he came back into the room. They're good, and I told Mom you were here. What did she say about that? It's funny, she didn't seem surprised, but she's happy and asked if we were getting back together. What did you tell her? He asked, going over, pulled her into his arms. I told her we were taking things slow. My parents have always loved you and were heartbroken when we split up. Mine too. They adored you and were angry with me for not going after you. I was a fool not to and will make it up to you. Every day without you was torture, and I never want to go through that ever again, he said, nibbling on her earlobe. She started giggling. It always tickled when he did that. Preston, we don't have time for this. Ricky and Melissa will be here soon. Oh, we have plenty of time, he said, picking her up, carried her back to the bedroom. Later, Ricky and Melissa showed up with some wine, and he introduced her to Preston. Leah had already met her. A fire was lit, and they sat down to talk. Sorry I kept your snowmobile so long, Preston said, handing him a glass of wine. That's okay. And why don't you just keep it while you're here? You and Leah can use it. There are lots of trails you could explore. Thank you, we'll do that. Leah got up. Excusing herself, she said she was going to get them some snacks. As she was putting out some cheese and crackers, Ricky walked into the kitchen. Can I help you? He asked, walking over to her. Sure, would you grab the tray from the fridge? He opened the fridge and set it on the counter, smiling at her. What? She asked when she saw the way he was looking at her. You look happy. I am. I'm glad you and Preston made up. For a woman who said she hated Christmas and all that goes along with it. You sure have decorated the cabin up nicely. And the tree looks amazing. She let out a sigh. You and everyone else were right. I should have talked to him about Hannah before jumping to conclusions. We believe she drugged him the night of the Christmas party, and he passed out. Was he shocked to hear you had a miscarriage? Yes, he was very upset and felt bad that he wasn't there for me. She looked at Ricky and smiled. He now knows what Hannah was up to and is going to fire her bum. So does this mean you two will be getting married again? Slow down. We just got back together. We're going to take things slow, and before you ask, we aren't moving back in together. Not yet, and as for marriage, maybe later. I'm happy for you. Thanks, but we better get back out there before the others start to wonder why we are taking so long. Here, you carry the heavier tray, and I'll take this one, she said, handing him the tray. The couple stayed for a few hours, laughing and enjoying each other's company, and when they left she turned to Preston. Thank you for being nice to Ricky. Why wouldn't I be? He asked, pulling her into his arms. I didn't think you liked him. That was when I thought he was after my girl. Now that I know he's not, I can enjoy his company, but I'm glad they're gone. Why is that? So that I can rip off your clothes and cover your body with my tongue and mouth, he said, dragging her into the bedroom. The next day, they went for a ride on the snowmobile, following the trail Ricky told them about. She asked him to stop when she spotted some reindeer running across their path. Wow, they are beautiful, she exclaimed excitedly. He stopped, watched her with a smile on his face. You were always an animal lover. Maybe we need to get us a dog or a cat once we remarry. Married, aren't you rushing things a bit? I'm not saying right now, just when the time is right. Take me into town and buy me lunch, she said, putting her arms around him. She didn't want to discuss marriage yet. It was too soon. The last time they rushed into it, it didn't end well. They ran into the Kringles when they got to the restaurant. Now don't you two look happy, Mrs. Kringle said when she saw the couple holding hands. It made her happy to see the lovers reunited. Preston squeezed her hand and smiled at Leah. Then he smiled at the older couple. We are very happy. And I have a feeling you had something to do with us getting back together. It wasn't us, son. When two people are meant to be together, they will find a way. Mr. Kringle answered back. We'll leave you two to enjoy your lunch. Merry Christmas. When they were done eating, they went for a walk, going into the store where they each had seen the snow globe. But when they looked for it, they couldn't find it. It was so weird. Leah, the couple looked just like us at one point. She wore the same dress, and her hair was done up the way you had it the night I asked you to marry me. Then when I looked at it again, it didn't look like us. I know. The same thing happened to me, and it played the same song as that night, she said, looking confused. He turned to her, putting his arms around her waist. Let's go home and get naked. She laughed. Is S*X all you can think about? It's all I think about when I'm with you. He turned serious, touching her cheek with the back of his fingers. All the time we were apart, I never thought about S*X. All I could think about was how much I was missing you. I felt the same way, she answered, then smiled at him. Let's go back to the cabin and get naked. He smiled. Is that all you can think about? Seeing me naked? Yup, she replied. Taking his hand, they rushed out of the store and back to the cabin. There they left a trail of clothing on the floor from the front door all the way to the bedroom. By the time they got on the bed, they were both totally naked. Chapter 12. The song, All I Want for Christmas, was playing on the radio while they made love. When they were done, he hovered over her, kissing up her neck until he got to her lips. They are playing our song. I know, she said, kissing him back. Rolling over onto his side, he pulled her into his arms. I'm still living in the same house we bought together. After you left, I had that pool put in. The one you've always wanted. She lifted her head to look at him. But I thought you never wanted a pool. I didn't. Then why did you put one in? I don't know. Maybe deep down, I was hoping you'd come back to me and then I could surprise you with it. I should have done it back when you wanted it. I never understood why you were so against having one. When I was a kid, we had a pool. My friend would come over and we would go swimming together. One day when I and my folks were away, he came over to use the pool. He wasn't supposed to be there without adult supervision. His parents didn't know that we were away, and when he told them he was invited over, they let him come. He drowned, and it still haunts me to this day. I was always afraid that if we had children that something like this could happen to them. Preston, why didn't you ever tell me? If I had known, I wouldn't have bugged you about getting one. I've never told anyone. I guess we both have a lot to learn about each other, she said, resting her head back on his chest. What is there about you that I don't know? There's really only one thing that you don't know about me. And that would be, he asked, looking at her. I'll tell you, but I don't want you to freak out. I won't, I promise. I want a lot of babies. What? He asked, shocked by her confession. Just how many children are you talking about? 5 or 6, she replied back. Holy cow, he said, letting out a whistle. Have I scared you away? He lifted her chin up with his fingertips, so that he could look into her eyes, and he smiled. You could have said you wanted 10 children, and it still wouldn't scare me away. Should we get up and make something for dinner? She asked, attempting to get out of bed, but he stopped her and flung her back down onto her back. I'm not hungry. If you want that many kids, we better start now, he said, pinning her body beneath him. After they ate dinner and were sitting around the table, he took a hold of her hand. Ricky told me that they are having a Christmas dance at the town hall. Would you like to go? She scraped her teeth over her bottom lip, smiling sweetly at him. Are you asking me out on a date? He thought about it for a moment. He thought it was kind of ridiculous to call it a date when they were once married, but he didn't want to blow it with her and make her upset. Yes, I'm asking you out. So, what is your answer? I'd love to go with you. So after they were done eating and the dishes were finished, she went to get ready for the dance. He had changed into a pair of black dress pants and a white shirt and waited in the living room for her. He sat in a chair going through his phone messages, and when she entered the room he looked up. Turning off his phone, he got to his feet. She had her hair done up on top of her head and had on a lacy white dress. Leah, you look absolutely stunning. He felt butterflies fluttering inside his stomach when he saw the way she was smiling at him. Thank you. I wasn't going to bring a dress with me when I came here, but I'm glad I did, and I'm glad you like it. It's a lovely dress. You make the dress look beautiful. He always knew the right things to say to make her feel good about herself. Walking over to him, she put her arms around his neck, smiling up at him. We have 2 years to make up for, starting now. He wrapped his arms tightly around her waist. Pulling her close, he kissed her, his one hand moving up and down her back. I could kiss you all night long, he said when the kiss was broken. There'll be time for that later, but now we have to get to the party. It's a good thing Ricky and his father was able to get my car out of the ditch. We wouldn't want you freezing your legs off on the snowmobile, but then I could warm them up for you. Rolling her eyes at him, she walked away and grabbed her coat. Putting on her boots, she let him carry her heels. Well, she didn't really give him a choice. She just handed them to him. When they got to the town hall and inside, she leaned on him while she took off her boots and put her shoes on. They walked hand in hand into the main hall. After finding a table, he went to the bar and got them both a drink. A whiskey for him and a glass of white wine for her. When he got back to the table, Ricky and Melissa were there, so he invited them to sit with them. We're so glad you came. We had a great time at your place, Melissa said, moving closer to Ricky. Leah smiled at Ricky. She was so happy for him and was glad he took her advice. We enjoyed having you both over. Preston placed his arm over Leah's shoulder. Having her back was a dream come true, one he thought was impossible. If you'll excuse us, I'd like to take my girl over for a dance, he said to the other couple, holding out his hand for her to take. Taking his hand, she followed him onto the dance floor, resting her head on his shoulder when he pulled her into his arms. I've missed being in your arms, missed the way you hold me so close to you. Are you happy, sweetheart? He asked, kissing the top of her head. Very much so. I just hope nothing happens to spoil things. All I ask is that you be honest with me from now on, especially about Hannah, she said, looking up at him. He looked back at her. A cold chill ran down his spine. He knew he should tell her his secret, but to do so now could tear them apart once again. She won't be a problem. Like I told you before, I'm going to fire her for what she did to us. Good, she replied, resting her head on his shoulder again. She really hoped he was telling the truth, that he wasn't keeping anything from her. That's good. If you did sleep with her, I'd never be able to forgive you. He swallowed the lump in his throat, holding her tighter against him. Let's never discuss her again. All you need to know is I love you. I never stopped loving you. That's all I need to hear, she said. Looking up at him, she smiled. Have you noticed what we're dancing under? He looked up and grinned back at her. Mistletoe. Well, we better kiss. It is a tradition after all, he said. Cupping the back of her head, he kissed her. They stopped dancing, kissing while others danced around them. After a couple of drinks and lots of dancing, they headed home after agreeing to meet Ricky and Melissa tomorrow afternoon for some ice skating in the park. The next afternoon they dressed warm and headed into town, meeting the other two at the park. As they were putting on their skates, his phone started ringing. Leah saw him look at it and the way he frowned, but he didn't answer it, he just put it back in his pocket. Don't you want to answer that? No, he answered. Who was it? No one of any importance. Shall we skate now? He asked, getting to his feet. She stood and took his hand and they started skating. This wasn't the first time he had gotten a call and didn't bother to answer it, and he always looked pissed when he looked to see who it was. After an hour of skating, he lost his balance when he tried showing off, landing on his bum. She skated over to him and started laughing. That's what you get for being a show-off, she said, holding out her hand to help him up. She let out a squeal when he pulled her down and she landed on top of him. He wrapped his arms around her, preventing her from getting up. Their faces were pink from the cold and laying on the ice didn't help. Preston, let me up. This is what you get for laughing at me, he said, pulling her head down to kiss her. Ricky and Melissa skated over to them, laughing. Hey you two, there are kids here and they're laughing at you. Preston got to his feet and helped her up. I forgot about the children, he said with a big smile on his face. Why don't we go and get some hot chocolate and a bite to eat? My treat. At the restaurant, they ordered their drinks and a hot meal. So what are your plans for Christmas? Ricky asked them. Preston looked at Leah. I thought we would just spend a quiet day at the cabin. My folks said they'd be happy to have you over for Christmas dinner. Melissa and her parents will be there. Leah smiled at Ricky. I think I can talk him into going. Preston placed his hand on her knee. If that's what you want, then okay. We'll be there. I'll bring the wine. During the meal, his phone rang again. He groaned when he saw who it was. I should take this. I'll be right back, he said. Excusing himself, he left the table and went out into the hallway. Maybe it's business, Ricky said when he saw the look on Leah's face. She looked upset. He's been getting a lot of calls the last couple of days, but hadn't answered it until now. But you're probably right about it being a business call. Her gut told her it was more than that and she hoped it wasn't Hannah calling. When he came back and sat down, he looked at her. I'm sorry about that. It won't happen again. Who was it? She asked, staring back at him. Nobody. Don't worry about it. After they were done eating, they headed back to the cabin. It was a quiet ride back. Once there, he said he was going to take a shower before bed. Would you like to join me? No, not this time, but you go ahead. As she was getting ready for bed, his phone started ringing again. Since he was in the shower and his phone was right there on the bedside table, she went over to see who was calling. Her face turned red when she saw who it was. She then checked his phone and saw that the same person had called over a dozen times. Her head shot up when he came into the room, still holding his phone. Chapter 13. Coming out of the shower, with only a towel wrapped around his waist, he saw the hurt look on her face and his phone in her hand. Leah, he said, moving closer to her. He prayed to God that his phone hadn't rung, and that she'd checked to see who had been calling him. But judging by the look on her face, she had, and he was worried as to how she would react to it. Your phone rang when you were showering. It was Hannah. I know I shouldn't have, but I checked the other missed calls. They were all from her. She felt betrayed, felt he had lied to her, and a tear trickled down from her eye. His heart dropped seeing how sad she looked. Going over, he took the phone from her hand and dropped it on the table. Cupping her face in his hands, he lifted her face up to look into her eyes. I don't know why she keeps calling me. I told her I would be away, and didn't want to be disturbed, he said, wiping her tear away. At the restaurant, it was her who called and I told her not to call me again. I thought you were going to fire her. I am, but I can't do it over the phone. When I get back after the holidays I will. Don't let her ruin what we've got going on. I love you. She looked up at him. I love you too, and all I ask is that you be honest with me. You broke my heart once. Please don't do it again. I won't, he said, picking her up, laid her down on the bed. Later that night they went for a walk in the snow, holding hands. She looked up at the sky and saw the stars twinkling. What are you looking at? He asked, watching her. At the stars. Look up, Preston. Isn't it beautiful? He looked up, smiling. It is beautiful. He then got in front of her. Leah, when we leave here, I want you to come work with me as my personal assistant. I don't know, wasn't it you who said it wasn't a good idea for us to work together? I was wrong. I know that now. I need you. You're good at this kind of work, and I should have realized that when we were together. I'll need a personal assistant once I fire Hannah. I can't just up and leave my parents. I promised to help them fix up their store. They count on me to do their books, to help them with the financial end of their business. I wouldn't expect you to stop with the decorating of their store, and as far as their books and the financial part of the business, there's not much to do, so you could do that at home, or wherever you want to. Once you're done with the new display in the store, then you can come work for me full-time. It pays good and there will be some fringe benefits in it for you. Preston, I'm not sure. Just think about it. It would mean commuting back and forth. It's a good hour's drive to where you have your office. He took both of her hands in his, smiling as he stared into her eyes. I know a way for you to avoid the long drive. Move back in with me, into the home we bought together. She let out a sigh. You agreed to take things slow and now you're asking me to move in with you. I said I would take it slow when it comes to us getting married, but moving in together is totally different. No, it's not, she said, shaking her head and smiling at him. Okay, you're right, but you can't blame me for trying. Letting her one hand go, they continued on with their walk. I've been meaning to ask you about your parents. How are they doing? She asked. She had always liked his mother and father. They weren't like your typical in-laws who were always intruding. They treated her more like a daughter than they did a daughter-in-law. They are great, and they miss you. They still can't understand what happened between us and are always on my back to go after you and win you back. So what about your parents? Are they well? They are happy and healthy and like your parents. They were always on my back to get in touch with you. It broke their hearts when we got divorced. They thought of you as a son and loved you. He stopped to look at her. Don't you think we should tell them that we're officially back together? I think we should do it in person, and not over the phone. So it's better if we wait until we go back home. Well, if that's what you want. Hey, want to see how fast we can melt the snow? How? She asked, eyeing him suspiciously. Putting his hand on her chest, he gave her a shove, making her fall to the ground on her back. He then got on top and straddled her, pinning her hands above her head and smiling down at her. By making out. If you think we're going to have S*X out here in the snow, you're crazy. Now let me up. I never said anything about S*X. Just thought we could make out a little, he said, lowering his mouth down onto hers. They lay there in the snow, passionately kissing each other until it started to snow harder. Preston, it's snowing and I'm getting cold. I'll keep you warm, he said as he kept on kissing her. She started giggling and pushed him away. You horny bastard, you'll just have to wait until we get back to the cabin. Getting off her, he got up and helped her up. Come on then. Once we get back to the cabin, I'll warm you up real good. Later that night they made popcorn and put on a Christmas movie. When she started sniffling, he put his arm over her shoulders. He could never understand why she always cried during these movies. Sure, some of them were sad, but they never made him cry. He didn't mind though. It just showed how sentimental she could be and he loved her for it. When the movie ended he pulled her onto his lap so that she was straddling him. I think I'll go into town tomorrow. Why? I want to get you a Christmas present. Preston, I don't want you doing that. All I want for Christmas is you. You've got me, you always have, but I have 2 Christmases to make up for, and I want to spoil you. Maybe next year, but not this one. He flipped her over onto her back on the sofa. Okay, but next year I'm going to spoil you rotten, he said. Stretching out on top of her he began kissing her. His hand going under her blouse and over her bra he began caressing her breast, feeling himself getting hard. They ended up making love right there on the sofa until the wee hours of the morning. After only having a few hours of sleep he drove into town to pick up some groceries. She decided to stay home since she was still tired. He wasn't gone long when she heard a car pulling into the driveway. Thinking it was him she went to the door to greet him. Her eyes opened wide and she felt the blood in her veins boiling when she saw it was Hannah. Hannah stood there with her mouth wide open, staring at Leah with contempt. Leah, I sure wasn't expecting to see you. Same here, she snapped, nearly falling over when Hannah pushed her way inside. Where's Preston? He went into town, and he won't be pleased to see you here, so I suggest you get back in your car and leave. Oh, I'm not going anywhere until I talk to him, she said as she removed her coat and boots. Without being invited, she walked into the living room and sat down. So how did you manage to get Preston to come here to be with you? I had nothing to do with him coming here. We were both shocked to find out that we rented the same cabin. Not that it's any of your goddamn business. Are you planning on getting back with him? If so, you can forget it. He's mine. She looked at Hannah and let out a laugh. You are so delusional if you think he is yours. You may have tried to seduce him, but it didn't work. He was never interested in you. Oh, you think not? Who do you think he was in bed with that Christmas Eve when you called? He sure as hell wasn't in bed with you. You drugged his drink and he passed out in his office. But when I called you pretended he was at your place in the shower. I was stupid enough to believe you, but now I know the truth. He's only telling you what you want to hear. Just give it up. I won't believe anything you say. They both turned their heads when the front door opened and Preston walked in. His face turned white when he saw Hannah there with Leah. He looked from one woman to the other before speaking to Hannah. What are you doing here, and how did you find me? She stood up and stared at him. I'm your personal assistant. I make it a point to know everything about you, where you go and who you talk to. It was not hard to find you. But my question is, what the hell is she doing here with you? Who I'm with is none of your business, but I'm glad you're here. Hannah looked over at Leah and grinned evilly at her. I was hoping you'd be happy, but why are you glad I'm here? He went over and stood next to Leah, taking a hold of her hand. I'm glad you're here so that I can fire you in person. I know what you did that night and what you said to Leah. You deliberately set me up and lied to her and to me. I can no longer have you working for me, so get in your car. Turn around and stay away from us. Okay, I lied. I put something in your drink and got you into your office and you passed out. When she called I told her you were in the shower. I let her believe we were having an affair, and I deliberately made it so that you would have to work late all those nights. You bitch. All those times you told me that the contracts got screwed up, or that the manuscripts were lost, it was all a lie. All those hours we wasted going over stuff that was already there that you hid just so that we would have to work late. I'll see to it that you never work for another publishing house again. Now get out before I strangle you. Hannah's face turned red and she looked at Leah, hating her more now than ever. You think he loves you so much? Well, guess what, sister? The week after you left he slept with me. We had S*X. How do you like that? She asked, heading to the front door. Putting on her boots and coat she walked out, knowing that she had destroyed any chance of Preston and Leah getting back together. Preston turned to face her, knowing she was never going to forgive him. Is it true? Did you sleep with her? Leah, you left me and I was devastated. I was drunk and don't even remember having S*X with her. I woke up in her bed, and it only happened one time, and I regretted it every day since then. I'm going to ask you to forgive me. Don't let this break us up again. I want you to leave, now. I'm not making any excuses for what I did, but you had already left me. We weren't together. She felt the tears falling down her face. I'm not mad or hurt that you slept with her. I know I left you, so I'm not mad about that now, but what I'm mad about is the fact that just the other night, I asked you if you had ever slept with her. You looked me straight in the eye and said no. You should have told me the truth. I wouldn't have been happy about it, but I would have accepted it. It's the fact that you lied to me that I can't forgive. When she started walking towards the door, he asked her where she was going. I'm going to walk into town, and when I get back, I want you gone, and don't ever try to get in touch with me again, she said, putting on her coat and boots and grabbing her purse. She left him standing there all alone. Chapter 14. She walked into town. The falling snow hit her face and mingled with her tears. Once again, she had given him her heart, and he had crushed it into a million pieces. The last few days had been the happiest days of her life. Her pain and suffering were gone, but now it was back. Worse than ever. By the time she got into town, she was freezing, so she went to the restaurant. Sitting down, she ordered a hot chocolate. Hey, where's Preston? Melissa asked, sitting down across from her. Then she saw the tears in Leah's eyes. Oh my God, what's wrong? Wiping her eyes, she shook her head sadly. He lied to me about Hannah. He did sleep with her. Are you sure? Hannah showed up at the cabin. She confessed how she set him up, making me believe they were having an affair. They weren't having an affair, but they did sleep together 1 week after we split up. Well, if she lied before, she could be lying now. No, he admitted to doing it. Melissa reached over and touched her hand. It happened over 2 years ago. It's in the past, so why not just forgive him and move on? I could forgive him for sleeping with her, but he lied to me the other day, when he swore he never slept with her. If he had just told me the truth, I would have understood. I'm just waiting here until I know he's gone before I go back to the cabin. Why don't you come home with me and we can talk some more? Thank you, but I'd rather be alone. If you change your mind, just give me a call, and I'll come right over. I hate to leave you right now, but I have a doctor's appointment that I can't miss. That's okay. You go ahead. I'll be all right. I'll check in on you later, she said. Getting up, she gave Leah a warm hug before leaving. She waited an hour before heading back to the cabin, praying that he was gone. On the walk back, she felt a chill going right through her bones, even though it was a warm winter's day. The trees looked so beautiful, like little diamonds sparkling in the branches. She was relieved to find he was gone when she got back. Going inside, she lit a fire and went to make herself some coffee. Taking it with her into the living room, she sat in front of the fireplace on the floor, sipping her coffee. The place seemed so cold and empty without Preston. She missed the sound of his voice and the smell of his cologne. Placing her cup down, she leaned up against the sofa and closed her eyes. She woke up to the sound of someone knocking on the door. Opening her eyes, she wondered how long she'd been asleep since it was now dark inside the cabin. Getting up and turning on some lights, she went to answer the door. Ricky and Melissa were standing there, looking worried. We've come to see how you're doing and we brought pizza, Ricky said, giving her a hug and telling her how sorry he was for what had happened. They went into the kitchen and got out some plates and opened up a bottle of wine, sitting down at the table to eat. I'm not trying to defend Preston, but he was so hurt when you left, and he made a stupid mistake by sleeping with that woman. Can't you just forgive him and move on? I know you both love each other so much. Don't throw it away. She looked back at Ricky, trying her best to hold back the tears that were threatening to fall from her eyes. I was in a lot of pain too. My heart was crushed, but you didn't see me jumping into bed with someone. He slept with her just 1 week after I had left, and he lied to me about it. That I can never forgive. As much as she liked having them there, she was glad when they left so that she could be alone. That night she went to sleep in the other bedroom. She couldn't bear to be in the bed that she and Preston had shared. Meanwhile, back to Preston. He kept cursing at himself while he packed his belongings into his suitcases. If only he had told Leah the truth about sleeping with Hannah a week after she left him, they would still be together. When she had asked him straight out if he had ever slept with her, he almost told her the truth, but something stopped him. Now he wished he had listened to his heart. He knew there was no way she would ever forgive him now. It started to snow heavier, and he wasn't paying attention to the road until he almost ran into the back of a truck. Swearing, he stepped on the brake just in time, letting out a deep breath. As long as he lived, he would never forget the look of hurt that crossed her face when she found out he had slept with Hannah. Even though it was just that one time, it was going to be a long drive back home, so he stopped at a nearby diner and got himself a large coffee to go. Getting back into his car, he sat there for a while. His vision was blurred from his eyes that were filled with tears. He was never one to cry, but he was damn close to it now, knowing that he had lost the only woman he had ever truly loved. Before he had met and married her, he had played the field, having meaningless x with women he never cared about. But the first night he laid eyes on her and had taken her to bed, he knew she was going to be his wife. Just a few short months later, they were married and things were going great, until he decided to become the sole owner of the publishing company. He worked late every night. He ignored her, and when she told him how she felt about Hannah and what she thought was going on, he just dismissed it, telling her it was all in her mind. If only he had paid more attention to her, listened to her, they might still be together today. But he knew this was his last chance and he blew it. After hours of driving, he finally made it home. Going inside, he placed his luggage by the door. He was too tired to take it upstairs and put everything away, so he left it where it was and went into the living room and poured himself a shot of whiskey. It was technically morning, but since he drove all night, it didn't feel like morning to him, and he desperately needed a drink. Instead of one drink, he had 3 doubles. He then went upstairs to his bedroom, the one he used to share with Leah. He didn't wake up until sometime in the afternoon, and his throat felt dry, so he went down to the kitchen and poured himself a large glass of water. He then put on a pot of coffee and stood there watching the brown liquid dripping into the pot. His heart swelled with sadness, his eyes so sore and heavy. He ran his hand down his face before pouring some coffee into a cup. He stared out the kitchen window, watching the snowflakes as they fell to the ground. He thought about calling her and begging for forgiveness, but he knew in his heart that she wouldn't. He figured he might as well go through another manuscript. So going into the hallway, he picked up the bag with his laptop. Taking it into the kitchen, he poured some more coffee into a mug and sat down and started reading. Not being able to concentrate on the story in front of him, because all he could do was think of Leah, he shut off his laptop, got up and stretched. He figured he might as well take his luggage upstairs and put his stuff away. There was only one small bag left to do. Unzipping the zipper, he opened the bag and looked at what was inside. What the hell? How did this get in here? He said to himself, as he pulled out the musical snow globe, which started playing on its own. He stared at it, watching as the couple that looked exactly like him and Leah danced in circles. He didn't know how the snow globe got in his bag, but he took it as a sign. A feeling of warmth filled his heart. He knew what he had to do. Grabbing one of the suitcases, he filled it with some clothes. Placing the snow globe on top, he was going back to Clarksville and to Leah. He lost her once and he would be damned if he would lose her again. Picking up the bag, he rushed down the stairs, threw on his coat and boots and went out to his car. He drove straight through, only stopping to get gas and a cup of coffee to go. He turned on the car radio. It was Christmas Eve and Christmas music was playing, and he found himself humming along to the music. He thought about what he would say to her when he saw her. He had to find just the right words to get her to forgive him and give them another chance. He glanced down at the snow globe that was sitting on top of his bag next to him. He still couldn't figure out how it got in his bag. Was it some kind of Christmas miracle, and who put it in there? He smiled when it started playing, and silly as it seemed, he spoke to it. All right, I'm going to her. He was tired but determined to win her back. When he finally reached the cabin, getting out of his car, he ran towards the front door. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door and walked in, calling out her name. Getting no answer, he took off his boots and went into the bedroom. She was nowhere in sight and wondered where she was. Had she left to go back home? But then he noticed all of her clothes were still hanging in the closet. Thinking maybe she had gone into town, he went to check if her car was still in the garage. It was so he knew she had to have walked into town. Getting back in his car, he went to find her. Chapter 15. As he was driving towards town, he stopped when he saw someone standing in the snow. Looking up at the falling snow, he knew it was Leah. Stopping and turning off the car, he looked down at the snow globe. "Wish me luck." He shook his head and smiled. He was not a bit surprised when it started playing. Taking the globe with him, he got out of the car and started walking slowly towards her. Her back was to him. "Leah," he said when he reached her. Hearing his voice, she turned around. At first, she thought she was dreaming, but no, he was standing in front of her in the flesh. "Preston, why are you back here? Have you not hurt me enough? Why can't you stay away from me?" she asked, feeling her eyes filling with tears. "I had to come back," he said, still holding onto the globe. "What do you want from me?" "Leah, you're what I want," he said as he stepped right up to her. His free hand cupped the back of her head, and he pulled her closer. His lips came crashing down hard on hers in a passionate kiss. When he broke the kiss, his hand laid against her cheek. "I know I hurt you, but I'm asking. No, I'm begging you to give us another chance. When I got back home, all I could think about was you. Maybe I could learn to live without you, but I don't want to. I have this hole in my heart that only you can mend. Fix me, Leah, make me whole again." Her breathing became rapid, her heart racing, her tears stinging her eyes. "You are the only man I'll ever be able to love, but I'm afraid of being hurt again. I'm just a man, and I can't promise that I won't do something that will piss you off. I'll say and do things that will make you want to slap the shit out of me, but I promise I'll always be faithful to you, and will do everything in my power to make you happy." She stood there staring at him. She wanted to believe him. At that precise moment, the globe started playing the song "All I Want for Christmas Is You." He lifted it up and they watched as the couple, which once again looked just like them, danced. "Where did you get this?" she asked, staring at it. "It's the strangest thing. I found it in my luggage when I got home. I don't know how it got there unless you put it in there." She looked up at him. "No, the last time I saw it was in the store when I first got to town. It must be a miracle, and it's telling us we belong together," he said, touching her cheek. "I'm warning you, if you don't take me back, I'll keep trying, and I won't stop until I wear you down. I will stalk you, send you gifts and flowers, hire someone to sing our song all year round." She smiled at him. "You would do that, wouldn't you?" "Oh yes, even if it takes me years. I will win you back. I do love you so much, and if you ever lie or hurt me again, you'll find your balls hanging from a Christmas tree." She knew she had to take a leap of faith and forgive him. Dropping the snow globe onto the snow, he pulled her into his arms. Their lips met in a long and passionate kiss. Needing to come up for air, they ended the kiss, her arms still around his neck. He looked at his watch and saw that it was midnight. "It's Christmas. Merry Christmas, Preston." "Merry Christmas," he answered, giving her another long kiss, one that had them both wanting more. "Let's go back to the cabin and celebrate Christmas in bed." When she smiled and nodded her head, he bent down to pick up the globe. "Where did it go?" he asked, looking up at her when he couldn't find it. She looked down at the ground. "It's got to be here. Maybe it's fallen under the snow." There were no marks in the snow indicating that it was ever there. They both got down on their knees and started digging through the snow all around them. "It just disappeared into thin air." "That's impossible," he said, scratching the back of his head and looking around. "I guess we'll never know where it got to," she said, getting up and wiping the snow from her knees. "It's getting cold out here, and I could use some hot chocolate. How about you?" "Hot chocolate sounds good," he said. Taking her hand, they went to the car and got in. As soon as they got back to the cabin, he wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close for a kiss. "Tell me you're happy," he said after breaking the kiss. "I am so happy," she said, reaching up to touch his cheek. "These last 2 years have been terrible without you. Seeing your picture in the paper was torture, especially when Hannah was with you. I thought for sure you were a couple. I'm sorry you felt that way, and for what it's worth, I don't remember having S*X with her. I could never move on with anyone else when my heart belonged to you. Now, you go make the hot chocolate, and I'll light a fire." making the hot chocolate, she couldn't help smiling. Her heart was bursting with happiness. There was no doubt in her mind that Preston would never hurt her again. This time they would make it. Taking the hot drinks into the living room, she sat down beside him on the sofa in front of the fireplace. "I love you. Merry Christmas," he says, taking the mug from her before giving her a kiss. They never did get to drink their hot chocolate when he started unbuttoning her top. Taking the mugs and placing them down, he lowered her down onto the sofa and soon ended up in bed. After getting only a few hours of sleep, they had breakfast and decided to go for a walk, ending up in town at the park. "Who were you talking to on the phone before we left the cabin?" "It's a surprise. Now I want you to turn around and don't peek," he said, picking up a branch that was laying on the ground. "What are you doing with that stick?" "You'll see. Now turn around." After a couple of minutes, he told her she could turn back around. When she turned around, she saw what he had written in the snow, and he was down on one knee. "Preston, what are you doing?" "Leah, I don't want to wait to marry you. Let's do it now. Here, will you marry me?" "Again." "But our parents aren't here and it's Christmas Day." Still down on one knee, he smiled at her. "They were at our first wedding and I bet they won't mind not being here. All they ever wanted was for us to get back together. Please don't leave me hanging. My knee is freezing." With tears falling down her face, she nods. "Yes, yes, I'll marry you," she gasped when he pulled out a tiny black velvet bag, took out an engagement ring and held it up to her. But it wasn't just any engagement ring. It was the one he gave her when he proposed to her the first time. "This is my ring," she said in awe. He got to his feet, placing the ring over her finger. "Yes, I kept it. And our wedding bands too. Whenever I travel, I take them with me. I don't know why. I just do," he said, pulling her in for a kiss. They only stopped kissing when they heard voices and clapping. "So I take it," she said. "Yes," Ricky said, smiling ear to ear. She looked at Ricky and the others who were coming toward them. "Preston, what's going on here?" "Well, I called Ricky and asked him for a favor. I told him what I was going to do and if there was someone who would marry us here in the park. I'm sure that's impossible, being that it's Christmas and all. I can marry you. I'm also the town's minister." They all turned their heads toward Mr. Kringle. "So if you're ready, I'll perform the wedding. So what do you say, sweetheart? Do you want to get married here and now?" "Yes," she said, throwing her arms around his neck and giving him a kiss. People gathered around as the two of them stood in front of the gazebo, but Preston wanted to say a few words to her before the wedding vows. "Leah, I just want you to know how sorry I am that I didn't come after you before now. I'm sorry that I didn't listen to your concerns when we were together. But on this Christmas Day, I am going to make a Christmas promise to you. From now on you will come first. Before my job, before anyone else, I will love you always. If I ever had to choose between you and my company, it will be you every time. I love you." She wiped the tears from her eyes when she looked into his with so much love. "Preston, my Christmas promise to you is that I will never doubt you again. I'll never run away from you again. I love you." After placing the wedding bands on their fingers and being pronounced husband and wife, he picked her up off her feet. His kiss was warm and passionate. After being congratulated and hugged all around, Ricky invited them back to his parents' place for Christmas dinner. Mr. and Mrs. Kringle stood back, holding hands and smiling. "Well, my darling wife, 'tis another Christmas and another Christmas miracle." She smiled brightly at her husband. "Yes, two souls reunited. I wonder what next Christmas will bring. We shall see, my love, we shall see." Back at Ricky's parents' place, the women started preparing the meal while the guys in the living room drank eggnog and talked. "Have any of you ever seen a musical snow globe?" Ricky's father snickered. "Son, we've all seen plenty of snow globes in our time. But there was something about this one. It played Leah's and my song. The one that played when I proposed to her the first time, and the couple inside the globe looked exactly like us. Somehow it ended up in my bag when I got back to the city. Finding it there is what made me come back here to get her. And when I found her, I dropped it into the snow and it disappeared. We couldn't find it anywhere. Now that is strange. The older man said. Perhaps you were both just imagining it. Preston scratched his chin. He knew they weren't imagining it, but decided to drop it, knowing the others wouldn't believe him. After enjoying a meal of turkey and all the trimmings, they said their goodbyes, wanting to get back to the cabin to celebrate their marriage. Well, congratulations again, you two. Will you be heading back home soon, or are you going to be staying at the cabin for a bit longer? Melissa asked. Leah and Preston looked at one another, smiling. I think we'll stay here a couple more days, and then be back with our parents for New Year's Eve. We're going to keep our marriage from them for now. We want to surprise them in person when we get back, he said, answering for the both of them. Saying their goodbyes, they refused a ride back to the cabin, saying it was a beautiful night, and wanted to walk. Chapter 16. As soon as they walked into the cabin, he took her into his arms, trying to warm her up from coming in from the cold. So, how does it feel to be Mrs. Phillips once again? Wonderful. It feels wonderful. Taking off their coats and boots, they started undoing the buttons on each other's tops as they kissed passionately. Their kissing turned into a burning desire to have each other. Picking her up, she wrapped her legs around his waist as he carried her to the bedroom. After shedding their clothes, they ravished each other. The sheets were a total wreck by the time they were done satisfying each other. Laying in each other's arms, he ran his hand up and down her back. I was kind of hurt to hear that you had gone back to your maiden name when we got divorced. I know you had every right to do that, but it still hurt. She chewed on her bottom lip before answering. I thought it would help to get over you, but it didn't. She looked up and smiled at him. I will be changing it back though. This made him feel much better. He stroked the side of her face tenderly. That will make me very happy. Me too, she said, snuggling up to him. He took her hand in his, looking at the rings on her finger. Leah. Yes, she replied back. I never even thought to ask you if you wanted to use these rings again. If you want, I'll be happy to buy you a new diamond and us some new wedding bands. No way. I love this diamond and wedding band. They are special to me. Don't you remember when you gave them to me? The way you gave them to me? Course I remember. It was Christmas Eve. We were at your parents' place. Your cousin was there with her husband and 2 kids. You were a little ticked off at me when I told you I had to leave for a while. On business. You were so mad you wouldn't even kiss me goodbye. I couldn't. I didn't want to spoil the surprise. After handing out the gifts to the kids, there was a small one in the bottom of the bag that had your name on it. You were so surprised, your face turned red. I was embarrassed. I was the only adult there getting a Christmas gift. But then when I opened up the tiny box and saw this diamond engagement ring inside and you down on one knee, I felt like crying. You took the ring box from my hand and asked me to marry you in front of everybody. It was the best day of my life, and I thought it was so sweet of you to involve my family. He smiled brightly as he kissed her fingertips one at a time. You made me the happiest man in the world when you said yes and jumped into my arms, knocking me over, and we both fell down, with you landing on top of me. She let out a giggle. The kids thought it was funny when we did that, but my cousin was frowning. They lay there talking for hours in between making love, of course. It was the morning of New Year's Eve and they were getting ready to go back home. They were anxious to tell their family that they had remarried. Preston, what are we going to do? About what, sweetheart? We both have our cars here. So are we going to leave separately and meet back home? I want you to come with me. But what about my car? It's brand new and I can't just leave it here. I guess you're right. She put her arms around his neck. Before I leave to go home, I want to stop in town and say goodbye to Ricky and Melissa. So why don't you go ahead, and I'll meet you back at my parents' place and we'll tell my folks together. All right. I want to go home first, and while I'm there I'll call my parents and have them meet us over at your folks. Just promise me you'll drive carefully. I will. Nothing is going to keep me from coming to you. He put his arm around her and started kissing her. Feeling the softness of her lips against his lit the flame of desire inside him. He pushed her up against the wall. The kiss turned more demanding. He picked her up and headed towards the bedroom. We don't have time for this, she said, but didn't protest too hard. We have time, he said, breathing hard as he laid her on the bed and started removing her clothes as well as his. A couple of hours later, and before getting into their separate cars, they gave each other one last kiss before parting ways. She then drove into town and went to see Ricky and Melissa. She also ran into the Kringles and some of the other people she had met during her stay there. Then she was on the road back home. After a long drive, she finally pulled up to her parents' store. Preston arrived at the same time. Good, now we can go up together, and I see that my parents' car is here, so are you ready to go up and give them the good news? He asked, pulling her close and giving her a kiss. I'm ready. Walking hand in hand, they entered her parents' home, finding all four of them sitting around, talking and laughing. They all looked up when Leah and Preston entered the room. Well now, what are we celebrating? He asked when he saw them drinking wine and clinking glasses. It's New Year's Eve and you both are back together. Those are two good reasons to celebrate, Diana said, going over to hug her daughter and Preston. After all the hugs and welcoming the two back home, they all got another drink. With a drink in his hand, his other arm going around Leah's waist, he cleared his throat to get the other's attention. We have an announcement to make. What is it, son? His father asked. Well, you know that Leah and I are back together. But what you don't know is that we got married a couple of days ago. She held up her hand, letting them see the rings on her finger. That's wonderful, they all said at the same time, again, giving them both another hug. What we still can't figure out is how we both ended up at the same cabin at the same time, Leah said, looking at all of the parents suspiciously when she saw the guilty look on their faces. We have a confession to make, her mother said, glancing over at the others. What confession? Preston asked her. When Leah told us she was going to that cabin, and she showed me the pamphlet, I kept it. I called your mother and told her. When you told me you wanted to get away from everybody, because you needed to get so much work done, I suggested that you go to this cabin. We were hoping that when you two saw each other again, you would realize how much you loved each other, and would get back together, and it worked, even better than we thought it would, June said, smiling back at her son. I made some calls to Mr. Kringle and told him the situation, and he agreed to double book it, Todd said. Preston looked at his father. I can't believe you went behind our backs and did this. But I'm so glad you all did this, thank you. So you two aren't mad at us? Gordon asked, looking over at his daughter. How can we be mad? We were both too stubborn to talk to each other, but you all brought us back together. I can never thank you enough, Leah said, tearing up. It was close to midnight, and they started counting down from 10. At the stroke of midnight, they could hear the bells ringing from the church next door. Preston put his arms around her waist, pulling her close. Happy New Year, sweetheart. Happy New Year, she replied. She then kissed him, and all of their love poured into that kiss. They stayed with the parents for a couple more hours. Diane put out snacks and dessert for everybody. Preston sat with his arm over Leah's shoulder. I've asked Leah to come run the company with me. What about Hannah? His mother asked. I fired her, because it was mostly her fault we broke up in the first place. But it was also my fault. I ignored Leah, made her feel as if I didn't care about her feelings. He looked at her. I'll always regret that, and I promise to never neglect you again, he said, lifting her chin up. He kissed her. His mother smiled. She never liked Hannah and suspected her of causing trouble between her son and Leah. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I'm going to finish up with redoing the store before I start working alongside Preston full-time. After visiting for a while longer, it was getting late, so they announced they were going home, and that they would come back for her car another day. An hour later, they were parked in front of what was once her home, and would be again. She sat in the car, looking up at the home they bought together. It feels good to be back where I belong, she said, feeling sad for the time she missed being here with Preston. He unbuckled his seatbelt and placed his arm around her shoulder, staring at her. After you left, it never felt like home. I thought of selling it, even had a buyer, but I couldn't bring myself to sell it. There was too much of you inside it, which made me feel closer to you. Now that you're back, it'll feel like a home again. Are you ready to go inside, Mrs. Phillips? Yes, I'm more than ready. I love you so much. I love you too, he said, pulling her in close and kissing her. Getting out of the car, he went and opened her door, holding out his hand for her to take. Chapter 17. She was a little nervous, as she stood there waiting for him to open the door. It had been so long since she had seen it and wondered if he had changed anything. As soon as she entered, her heart started beating faster when she saw the staircase. It was this staircase that drew them to the home in the first place. It looks the same as it did when I left. You still have the small table holding a vase of flowers, she said, looking around. He went up behind her, putting his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. I didn't change a thing. Everything is the way it was when you were here. The only thing new is the swimming pool out back. Want to see it? Yes. They walked through the house, going out to the back patio. He flipped a switch and lights came on, shining over the backyard and a huge oval-shaped pool. She stepped out onto the patio, her eyes lighting up. I can't wait until it's warm enough to go swimming. Me too, especially swimming in the nude. She rolled her eyes at him. You're so naughty. We have no neighbors, so no one will see us. It's really late and I'm beat, let's go to bed. When they got to their bedroom, she looked around. It's so clean. I've hired a housekeeper that comes in 5 days a week. You'll like her. She's an older woman and a great cook too. You'll meet her after the holidays. Pulling her into his arms, he started undressing her, his lips caressing the side of her neck. Tilting her head, giving him room to kiss her neck, she let out a soft mo**n, then stopped him just before they got to the bed. What's wrong? He asked, thinking she had changed her mind. Then he saw the way she was staring at the bed and figured out what was bothering her. Hannah was never in our bed, no one was. She turned to him, putting her arms around his neck. Thank you for not sleeping with her here. I don't think I could sleep in here if you had. I don't want to talk or think about that bitch again, he said, picking her up, laid her down on the bed. He made love to her until the sun came up. Both exhausted, they finally fell asleep in each other's arms. The next day she got reacquainted with her home. It was just as beautiful as she remembered it. She went into the kitchen to start breakfast, making his favorite, French toast with bacon and fresh fruit. She jumped when she felt a pair of arms going around her waist. Preston, you startled me. Sorry, but seeing you here cooking me breakfast got me thinking about when we were married the first time, and you would make me breakfast, but back then all you wore was my shirt. She giggled when he sucked on the side of her neck. I remember also that a lot of the time, I never got to finish making it. You would take off that shirt and put me on the kitchen table and make love to me. He moved his lips up her neck. Yes, and I would have to stop laughing when we had company over and we all ate at the table. All I could think about was you naked with me on top of you. Go sit down and behave yourself, let me finish making the French toast. He went and sat down, watching her. Even fully clothed, she still looked XY as hell while she made the food, and he found himself getting turned on. I'm horny, he said with a smile on his face. She turned her head to look back at him and chuckled. I'm starving, so you're just going to have to wait until later. A week later she met Martha when she returned from her holiday. She really liked the older woman and they hit it off right away. You're even more beautiful in person than in your picture. I'm glad you and Mr. Phillips are reunited. If I'm not stepping out of line, I'd like to say that since you've come back, he has been a different man. How so? He was always so sad before, now he's happy and smiles a lot. Leah couldn't help but smile. I was the same way. 3 months later, Leah had finished with her parents' store and was now working alongside Preston. Being together all the time only made them grow closer together. She had her own small office next to his. Coming back from running an errand, she stopped to get them both a coffee, taking them into his office. "You've been working too hard. You need a break," she said, placing his coffee on the desk in front of him. He laid his pen down and grabbed her hand, pulling her down onto his lap. "I need something, all right," he said, kissing the side of her neck. "Preston, we shouldn't be doing this here." "Why not?" "I'm the boss, this is my office and you're my wife." They stopped what they were doing when there was a knock at the door. Getting off his lap, she told whoever it was to enter. "Sorry, sir, but there's a man here to see you. He says it's important." He looked at his secretary and nodded. "Send him in." "You want me to leave?" Leah asked, preparing to go. "No, you can stay." A short, stocky man entered and walked over to him, holding out his hand to shake his. "You're Mr. Preston Phillips." "Yes, and who are you?" "Who I am is not important," he answered, handing him a brown envelope. "Sir, you've just been served." He turned and walked out, leaving the two confused. "What is it?" she asked, looking over his shoulder as he started opening the envelope. He read what it said and cursed. "That bitch, Hannah, she's suing me for unlawful termination, and for sexual harassment. I can see her suing me for firing her, but for sexual harassment, that's ridiculous. I never once said, or did anything sexual towards her." Leah took the letter and read it. She gasped when she saw that Hannah was suing for $2.1 million. "She's mad. She won't get away with this, we'll fight her." "Damn right we will, I'll call my lawyer." She could see how upset he was, so going over she placed her hand on his arm. "Don't let this get you down, you're innocent and we'll prove it." "We?" he asked, looking at her. "Yes, we. We're a team, remember?" He put his hands around her waist, pulling her close. "This could get ugly. Proving my innocence about the sexual harassment won't be easy, it'll be her word against mine. We'll find a way. Have I told you how much I love you?" She tilted her head, pretending to think about it. "Let me think. Oh yeah, not in the last couple of hours." He chuckled softly. "Well, I do, baby, I love you," he said, giving her a passionate kiss. The next day, they went to their appointment with his lawyer. "Preston, Leah, come sit down," Steve Bakerton said, pointing to the two chairs on the other side of his desk. "I read over the papers you gave me. Miss Leaves is really putting the screws into you. I'm not sure what to tell you. You did fire her without legitimate reasons." "Are you kidding me? That woman destroyed my marriage, she drugged me. As for the sexual harassment, that's bullshit. Well, she says you made sexual comments towards her in the workplace, and also touched her inappropriately. I never laid a hand on her, and as for sexual comments, the closest thing I came to that was to tell her to dress appropriately in the workplace. She was always dressing in short skirts and low-cut blouses. There's no way I'm giving her $2.1 million. So what's your countersuit?" "I guess since I didn't go through the right channels in firing her, I'll pay her $500,000. But she has to drop the sexual harassment part." The lawyer stood up, shaking their hands. "Okay, I'll give her lawyer a call and I'll get back to you. Preston, my gut tells me she's not going to settle for what you offered, and she certainly isn't going to drop the harassment suit," she said when they left the office. He held her hand as they walked back to his car. When they got there, he hesitated before opening the door for her. "It's my word against hers as far as the sexual harassment goes, but it could ruin my reputation." She reached up and kissed him. "We'll get through this." Putting his arms on her waist, he pulled her closer. "I hope so, if not I could lose a lot of my business and money." "Will you still love me if I'm poor?" "You foolish man, you already know the answer to that." He gave her a huge smile. "Yes, I do." 3 days later, they found themselves seated in the lawyer's office once again. Miss Leaves has turned down your offer. She wants the full $2.1 million. Preston shook his head. It's not going to happen. Steve sat back, rubbing his chin. If you don't settle, then you'll have to go in front of a judge. That's fine with me. Okay, but let me warn you, the lawyer she has hired plays dirty. It would be a big help if you had some kind of proof that you didn't sexually harass her, and any involvement she might have had in breaking up your marriage. We'll need to discredit her character, anything to prove that she's lying. When they left the lawyer's office, he was feeling really down. How am I supposed to prove any of that? Maybe I should just give her the damn money she's asking for. Preston, you can't do that. You can't let her win that easily. I'm sure we can find something out about her, something that will help us. I hope so, he said, but not convincingly. The day arrived for the hearing. It was set for later that afternoon. Leah suddenly came up with a plan, telling Preston she would meet him there. She then went over to Hannah's apartment. What do you want? Hannah said when she opened the door. We need to talk, Leah said, brushing past her as she walked into the apartment. If you're here to change my mind, you can forget it. Leah took her phone out of her back pocket and placed it on the coffee table and sat down. Why are you suing for sexual harassment when you know damn well that never took place? You weren't there, so how the hell would you know? Because I know my husband, he would never do that. You're just mad because you couldn't seduce him. He did have a good reason for firing you. You interfered in his personal life, making me believe that you two having an affair. It's just you and I here, Hannah, so tell me the truth. Why do you hate me so much that you tried to destroy my marriage? You're not good enough for him, Hannah hissed. Preston needed somebody like me, someone who could help further his career. You're right, he never tried to seduce me, it was the other way around. I tried everything to get him into bed. I'd go to work wearing a low-cut top and bend over in front of him so he could look down my top, but he never paid any attention to me. It was always about you, Leah this, Leah that. God, he made me so sick every time he mentioned your name. You put something in his drink that Christmas Eve, didn't you? And when I called, you told me he was in the shower. You let me believe that you two were sleeping together. What if I did? I wanted your life. I wanted everything you had, and I was glad when you lost the baby. How did you know about the baby? I knew the nurse who was there the night you lost it, she told me. How can you be so cruel as to say something like that? You broke up my marriage and slept with him 1 week after I left. You are a disgusting human being. Hannah tilted her head back and burst out laughing. We may have slept in the same bed together, but he was too damn drunk to me. I undressed him, and when he woke up and found us together in bed, naked, he assumed we did, and I let him continue to think so. Hearing this, she got to her feet and slapped Hannah across the face. You evil bitch. She touched her cheek where Leah had slapped her. You've just added assault to the list of charges against you and your husband. Get out of my apartment now. I have to get ready for our meeting. I'll see you there, and tell Preston to get his checkbook ready. As soon as Hannah shut the door on her, Leah walked towards the elevator. Once there, she turned on the recording of Hannah confessing to everything. Smiling to herself, she stared at the door to her apartment before the elevator door shut. I got you, bitch, you're going down, she said, knowing she had enough evidence to clear Preston of all charges. Chapter 18. When she got to the lawyer's office, Preston was outside waiting for her, looking at his watch. I'm sorry I'm late, but I have something to tell you, she said, out of breath, as she ran up the stairs. Tell me later, we're late and have to talk to Mr. Bakerton before we meet with Hannah and her lawyer. She didn't get the chance to tell him as he took her hand and rushed inside. She sat down when he pulled out a chair for her. She took out her phone, anxious to have them hear the recording, but had to wait until the lawyer stopped talking. I'm sorry, Preston, Miss Leaves has a strong case against you. From your own admission, You did fire her without proper reason, it was more personal than anything else. As far as the Zool harassment, it's your word against hers, and as it is going on all the time in the workplace, she'll likely be believed. I may be able to get the settlement down to $1 million. Preston scoffed. She shouldn't get anything after what she did. If only we had some proof, Steve said, leaning back in his chair. We do have proof, Leah said, showing them her phone. What are you talking about, sweetheart? Preston asked, wondering why she was waving her phone around. The reason I was late was that I went over to Hannah's place to have a word with her. Preston gave her a look of disbelief. Leah, why would you do that? It will only give her more ammunition to use against me. She'll say you were harassing her. Honey, I wish you hadn't gone over there. Just listen to what I recorded, she said, pushing the button and playing the conversation. The two men sat back and listened to the recording. Both had smiles on their faces. We've got her, Steve said, giving the others a satisfying grin. Once the judge hears this, she might be the one who will have to give you a settlement. Mrs. Phillips, you are one amazing woman, and you, Preston, are a very lucky man. Give me 5 minutes before we head into the judge's chamber, he said, getting up, took Leah's phone with him and some papers. When the lawyer walked out, leaving them alone, he put his arms around her. Steve's right. I am a very lucky man. So you're not mad at me? She asked, worried that he might be. No, you did good, he said, pulling her closer, gave her a long kiss. You never cease to amaze me. Hannah will get what she deserves, nothing. They were called into the judge's chamber. Hannah and her lawyer were already there. They each had a smirk on their faces, thinking this was going to go their way. They had no idea that the judge had heard the recording moments ago. The judge entered, sitting down at the head of the table, and cleared his throat. Before I begin, I want to ask you, Miss Leaves, would you like to change your statement? Hannah smiled at him, doing her best to give a sincere smile. No, Your Honor. Mr. Phillips fired me without just cause, and during the time I worked for him, he had been making Zool advances towards me. Then why did you stay working for him, and why haven't you brought him up on charges before now? The pay was good, she replied. I take Zool harassment very seriously, and I don't take kindly to those who make false accusations. It makes it harder for those who do get harassed, so I ask you again, do you want to change your statement? Hannah looked over at her lawyer and swallowed the lump in her throat. Taking a deep breath, she looked back at the judge. I stand by everything I said. The judge sat back, staring at her for a brief moment before continuing. He picked up Leah's phone and placed it on the table in front of him. Maybe you should listen to this, he said, pressing the button. Hannah's eyes grew wide, her mouth fell open as she listened to her confession. She looked over at Leah and started screaming. You bitch, you tricked me. Control your client, Miss Parker, the judge barked. She placed her hand on Hannah's arm and leaned into her. Please be quiet, don't make it any worse for yourself. The judge stared at her, he was clearly angry and gave her hell. Miss Leaves, by your own admission you have committed a couple of felonies. 1 by drugging someone without their knowledge, and 2, by making a false claim. The others are not ones you can be charged with, they are of a more moral issue. Trying to seduce a married man, saying you were glad she lost her baby, and not even letting her husband know she was in the hospital, is beyond disgusting. I pity you, Miss Leaves. Your case has been dismissed, and I hope the Phillips charges you with these 2 felonies. He turned to Preston, holding out his hand to shake his. All charges are dropped, and I'm sorry you had to go through this. Good evening. Hannah stood up, her face beet red. You're not going to charge me, are you? I should, but I would have to see you again, and I don't want to set eyes on you ever. If you leave the city and never come back, then I won't. But I'll hang on to your confession, just in case you decide to cause any more trouble. Fine, I'm bored with this place and the people in it, she said, pushing past them as she stormed out. "Well, she's one angry woman, but at least she's out of your life now for good," Steve said, shaking Preston's hand. "Thanks for all of your help. Don't thank me, thank your wife. If it wasn't for her, you'd be out $2.1 million. I'll see you both around," he said, giving Leah a warm smile. They walked out of the building holding hands. He stopped when they got outside. Pulling her close, he put his arms around her waist. "Thanks for doing what you did. I love you so much." She put her arms around his neck. "You don't have to thank me. I'm your wife and we're a team. It's our job to look after each other. But if you really want to thank me, you can take me home and make love to me until I'm too sore to walk." He smiled. "That would be my pleasure." 1 month later, Leah got a phone call from Ricky. He and Melissa were getting married in a month's time and wanted them to come. She said yes right away, knowing Preston would be happy to go. She was also wanting to see the people she had met and become friends with during her stay there. A month later, they were back in Clarksville. It was just as beautiful here in the summer as it was in winter. They were greeted by Ricky, who gave her a big hug and shook Preston's hand. "It's so good to see you both, and Melissa is excited to see you again. I'm sorry you couldn't book the cabin, but we have you booked into the bed and breakfast. It is a little disappointing, but the bed and breakfast will be just fine with us. We'll get settled in our room and then we would like to take you and Melissa out for dinner," Preston said, giving him a friendly smile. They went to their room and unpacked their belongings. "I have a confession to make," he said, taking her hand, pulled her down onto his lap. "I tried to buy the cabin from the Kringle, but he said it wasn't for sale and never would be." "I'm not surprised," she answered. "Why? It's a magical place. This whole town is magical." The Kringles did say many couples got together after staying in that cabin. "It's like that snow globe. How 1 minute it looked like us and then it didn't, and how it disappeared. Maybe next year someone else will get it, bringing love and happiness." "I believe you are right. That place brought us back together," he said, lowering her down onto the bed. "Now I am going to show you just how much I love you," he said as he started removing her clothes. 3 hours later, they got ready to go out to dinner, meeting Ricky and Melissa at the restaurant. For the next 2 days, Preston and Leah got reacquainted with the people in town. They also took long walks towards the cabin and to the park where he proposed to her. On the day of the wedding, Leah wore a knee-length, powder blue dress. Preston wore a dark blue suit. The wedding was held in the park. The bride and groom along with the minister stood in the gazebo. It was a beautiful wedding and the whole town came out to see it. The reception was held in the park also. It was a warm and beautiful night, with the stars sparkling in the sky. Once the music started, Preston took Leah over to the dance area. Pulling her into his arms, he held her tight against him, his chin resting on the top of her head. "What are you thinking about?" she asked when he went quiet. "I was just thinking about the day we got married the first time. You were so beautiful, you took my breath away. That was the happiest day of my life, that and the day you remarried me. I feel like crying every time I think about how I almost lost you for good." She moved her head gently so as not to bump his chin and looked at him. "Same here, but a Christmas miracle brought us back together. I'll never take you for granted again, and I will always show you every day how much I love you and how much you mean to me." She lifted her face up, put her hands behind his head, pulled him in close for a kiss. The party went on for hours even after the newlyweds had left on their honeymoon. It was getting really late, so Preston and Leah said good night to everyone and went back to their room. They were heading back home the following afternoon. The next morning they got up and decided to take a walk through Kringle's store. They were looking at all the small items when suddenly a song started playing from one of the tables. Going over to the table, they saw a snow globe. Inside there was a woman sitting and holding a baby as the song, "Hush Little Baby," played. They looked at one another and Preston smiled at her. "Could this be another sign? Here in Clarksville anything is possible," she replied. "But I'm sorry, I'm not pregnant." Maybe not yet, but you will be. Seeing that it was time to get going, they said goodbye to Mrs. Kringle and left the store. They only got a few steps when Preston stopped. I'm going to go back and buy that snow globe for you. Wait here, I'll just be a minute. When he came back empty-handed, she was surprised. I thought you went back to buy it. Did you change your mind? He looked at her with a confused look in his eyes. You're not going to believe this, but when I went back to get it, it was gone, so I asked Mrs. Kringle where it went. She said she didn't know what I was talking about, and that they only carry Christmas snow globes. She shook her head. This was just too weird. That is really strange. I know we saw it. Well, I guess we'll never know what's going on. Let's go home. Chapter 19. The months flew by and it was close to Christmas. The tree was up and there were lots of gifts under the tree for her from Preston. When she told him to stop, that there was too much, he would hush her, saying he was making up for the last 2 years. He also warned her not to peek, or else she would end up getting a spanking, but she wasn't opposed to that idea. This was going to be the best Christmas ever. They were happy. He kept his promise, cutting back on his hours and making her his top priority. They went shopping together, getting gifts for their parents and other relatives. The gifts she bought for him were also placed under the tree except for one gift that she had hidden away. The morning before Christmas, she was busy baking Christmas cookies to take to his parents' place for the kids that were going to be there. She heard him enter the kitchen and turned her head to look at him. What are you hiding behind your back? She asked, hoping it wasn't another gift. Give me a kiss first and then I'll show you. Placing her hands on both sides of his face, she leaned in and gave him a long kiss. Now what's behind your back? Okay, I'll give it to you, but you can't open it until later tonight, he said, handing her a small box from Victoria's Secret. She raised her eyebrows at him. Do I want to know what's inside? I have a confession to make. It's more for me than it is for you. I just bet it is. He chuckled, stealing a couple of the cookies before leaving the kitchen. I can't wait to see it on you later, he said, looking over his shoulder at her. Rolling her eyes, she went back to the cookies. Seeing that she was busy with baking and everything else she was doing, he said he'd order some Chinese takeout. After all, he didn't want her to be tired later. He had plans for her. Later that night, as they sat in front of the fireplace drinking eggnog, he reached up, using his thumb wiped the eggnog from her lips. How about you go up now and put on the gift I got you? Okay, I also have a gift for you too, she said, getting to her feet. Wait here, I'll be right back, and no coming up to sneak a peek. Then don't take too long, he said, giving her a devilish grin. He couldn't wait to see her in the panties he bought for her. While she was gone, he sat the eggnog down and opened the bottle of champagne and poured 2 glasses. She hurried upstairs and took out the outfit she had bought. The top was so low-cut in front, exposing a lot of her breasts. The skirt was so short, and she even had a Santa's cap to top off the outfit. She then started unwrapping the small box he gave her and smiled when she saw the panties. Leave it to Preston, she said to herself, and started putting them on. Meanwhile, he was busy lighting candles and turning off the lights while he took off his shirt. He turned around when he heard her enter the room. He could feel his heart thumping inside his chest and his member growing when he saw what she was wearing. Hot damn, you look XY as hell. Are you wearing the gift I gave you? She hiked up the short skirt to show him that she did indeed have them on, then pulled her skirt back down. So do you like what you see? Oh yeah, come here you, he said, motioning with his finger for her to come to him. When she got close enough, he pulled her into his arms, lowering his mouth onto hers. When the kiss was broken, she pushed him, causing him to fall back onto the sofa. Licking her lips, she removed her top, letting it fall to the floor. Then she slid the skirt slowly down over her hips and let it fall to the floor, letting him see the panties he had given her. She snickered when she watched him wipe the drool from his mouth. Hungry? She asked, smirking. I'm starving, he replied. Pulling her into his arms, he slowly lowered her down onto the floor in front of the fireplace. Removing her panties, he feasted on what she had to offer, making her scream out his name over and over. 2 hours later they lay wrapped in each other's arms. "This is the best Christmas Eve ever," she purred. "Oh yeah, you got that right," he said, giving her another kiss. "I think we should forget about going out tomorrow, and just stay right where we are. I might get hungry again," he said, caressing her breasts. She laughed. "If we don't go, our parents will come to us, and they would have a heart attack if they caught us like this. Besides, I'm dying to tell them the good news." "What good news?" he asked, looking at her. Pushing him onto his back, she laid on top of him. "Well, I guess you should be the first to know," she said, smiling down at him. "You're going to be a daddy." He felt his eyes tearing up. He reached up to touch her cheek. "You're pregnant?" She let out a giggle. "Well, that's the only way for you to be a daddy." He gently flipped her over onto her back, so that he was now the one on top. "I've been hoping for this to happen. How far along are you?" 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Why did you wait so long to tell me? I wanted it to be a surprise for Christmas, making it one of your gifts. Merry Christmas, Preston. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I love you." He lowered his head, giving her a passionate kiss that led to another round of amazing S**X. His life was so full of happiness and love, and it was all down to her and that snow globe he saw in Kringle's store. She woke up in the morning and found him in the kitchen making them breakfast. After eating, they went and opened their gifts. She was shocked at the amount of stuff he bought her, everything from clothing and jewelry. She also spoiled him, giving him a Rolex watch, a gold pen set with his name engraved on it, and a few other small odds and ends. They then got dressed and went over to his parents' place, where her parents were coming over for dinner. After the gifts were all unwrapped, he took her hand and they stood up, announcing that they had something to tell them. Both sets of parents sat still, wondering what the news was but hoping it had to do with a baby, and they were all so excited when they heard the news. "You're having a baby?" they all asked at the same time. After fussing over the couple, the women went into the kitchen to get dinner ready while the guys sat in the living room watching football and drinking beer. They enjoyed a great meal, opened their presents, and later that night headed home. Over the next few weeks, she experienced morning sickness and fatigue. Her breasts were extra tender, and she was becoming very moody. She was a little worried about the way she was feeling and thought maybe there was something wrong, so she made a doctor's appointment and Preston went with her. He held her hand, reassuring her that everything was going to be all right. He didn't want her to know, but he was also worried. She was so pale and had dark circles under her eyes, and was always snapping at him. He breathed a sigh of relief when the doctor walked in carrying her chart. "Mrs. Phillips, after examining you and doing the scan, I would like to book you in for an ultrasound in another week." "Why, what's wrong?" she asked, giving Preston a worried look. "It's too early to tell, and I couldn't tell from the scan, but I suspect you may be carrying twins. That could explain why you are still having morning sickness and severe fatigue. An ultrasound will tell me more." They left the doctor's office happy but worried, wondering if it was something more serious. Driving home, he reached for her hand. Holding it, he glanced over at her and smiled. "Wow, I wasn't expecting twins." She smiled back at him. "Me either. So how do you feel about that?" He pulled over to the side and put the car into park. Turning to look at her, "I feel ecstatic. Having one baby is wonderful, but two at the same time. It's amazing, but it's you I'm worried about. I hate to see you so tired and sick all the time." "Preston, it's just a part of pregnancy, and the way I feel it has to be twins. It'll be so worth it once they are born." "Okay, but let's not get our hopes up. It could just be one baby." She placed her finger under his chin, giving him a huge smile. "Oh, believe me, there's more than one baby inside me. I just know it." 1 week later they went back for the ultrasound. She was starting to feel a little better, but still very tired. After the ultrasound, they were made to wait in the doctor's office until he came to see them with the results. "Mr. and Mrs. Phillips, I know that normally when we do an ultrasound we can tell right away, but there was a problem. I could only see one baby, but there was something else that I couldn't make out, so I needed a few moments to check it over." Preston began sweating. He was worried and grabbed her hand. You're scaring the shit out of me, doctor. Can you please tell us what's going on? Is the baby okay? Your baby is fine. And there was another baby hiding behind the first one. That's why I had trouble seeing it and the heartbeat was hard to detect. But they are both healthy, so there's no problem there. But Mrs. Preston, your blood pressure is a little low. Having 2 babies is a little harder on a woman's body than having one. You will need to get more rest. Stay off your feet as much as possible and have a well-balanced meal. Now, since you both decided not to know the S*X of the baby or babies until they are born, I will see you again in 2 weeks. Once the doctor walked out, she jumped into Preston's arms. I told you it was twins. Yes, you did, he said, smiling down at her. I love you so much and I can't wait to tell our parents about this. It's been hard not letting them in on it for over a week. The next few months flew by and the baby's room was finished, decorated with 2 cribs, 2 dressers and everything else that the babies would need. It was decided that she would quit work until the babies were in school, so she helped him to find another personal assistant. This time it was a male. When they made love he was so gentle, taking extra care so as not to hurt her or add any pressure on her stomach. Near the end of the pregnancy, she started feeling more energetic and her mood swings completely went away. Much to his relief, the only thing that she was worried about was that they were told the babies were very small. Though healthy, both sets of parents bought tons of diapers and baby clothes along with some other gifts. They couldn't wait until their grandchildren were born. She was now 5 days over her due date, and she was getting anxious. Preston had to laugh when she tried to talk him into making love to her, saying that she had read somewhere it would induce labor. As much as he wanted to give in to her, he was told by the doctor that it would not be a good idea to continue being intimate after the 8th month. As horny as he wasn't going to take the chance of anything happening, so he had to keep turning her down. On the 6th night, she woke him up through the night by punching him in the arm. Preston, wake up. He sat straight up, rubbing his arm. What's up? You have to get me to the hospital. I'm in labor. Chapter 20. A few hours later she gave birth to twins. Aiden, 7 pounds. Abigail, just under 6 pounds. Preston held his son while she held their daughter. They are amazing and this little guy will grow up protecting his sister. He looked over at Leah and his daughter. Tears appeared in his eyes. Our little princess looks just like you. She's so beautiful. Sweetheart, you did real good. She smiled back at him. I couldn't have done it without you. I think we better let our parents in now before they break down the door, she said when she heard their voices coming from the other side of the door. Oh my, they look so much alike, her mother commented. It's a good thing one is a boy and the other a girl, or you'd never be able to tell them apart. It was true. They both had blonde hair and blue eyes. They looked like angels. After visiting for a couple of hours, the grandparents went home, finally giving the couple time alone with their babies. Putting the babies in their little beds, he went and sat on the bed next to her. Leah, I want you to know how much I love you. Even to this day, I still feel like hell for not listening to you about Hannah. I will never make that mistake again, nor will I put work ahead of you or our children. She reached up to touch his face. I shouldn't have run away from you. We both messed up the first time around, but never again, and I love you too. He leaned over to kiss her. You're so beautiful. She giggled and rubbed her stomach. How can you say that? I look horrible, and it's going to take me forever to get my body back to where it was. Your body looks amazing, so much so that I'm getting turned on looking at you. If you hadn't just given birth, I'd be all over you. I really like your boobs and hope they stay this big, he said, gently touching them and smiling. My God, you always did like big breasts. Well, what can I say? 3 days later, they were able to take the babies home. Right away, they noticed something about the twins that were different, but really sweet. Whenever one was taken away from the other, whether it was for a bath or feeding, the other would cry until they were both back in the same room. When they got old enough to be put into their cribs, with each one on either side of the room, they would scream their heads off until Preston pushed the cribs side by side. It was almost as if they couldn't bear to be too far away from each other. When the twins were just a little over a year old, Preston had to fly to Paris to meet with one of his authors. He didn't want to go alone, so he talked Leah into going with him, and the grandparents would take care of the twins for a week. "I feel terrible leaving them for a week," she said, watching her babies sleeping in their cribs. "I know, so do I." Standing behind her, he put his arms around her waist. "It's only for a week, and our parents are looking forward to this time alone with them. We also need this time to ourselves." She turned to face him, putting her arms around his neck. "It will be nice, just the two of us, and I've always wanted to go to Paris. It'll be like a second honeymoon." "Yes, I only have one day where I'll be busy with the author, and the rest of the week it'll just be the two of us. I have to warn you though, there will be a lot of S**x, but I'll try to take you sightseeing. That is if I can get you out of bed." She let out a soft laugh. "I think you meant to say if I can get you out of bed." Their flight and hotel suite was booked, and after giving their babies hugs and kisses they headed to the airport. On the plane and once in the air he could tell she was worried about the twins. "They will be all right with our parents. If it will put your mind at ease, we'll call home and check on them," he said, taking her hand in his. By the time they landed, she was anxious to call home to check on the twins. After being assured they were doing well, she hung up, letting Preston know. As soon as they were inside their hotel room, he didn't give her any time to check out their suite. He grabbed her, pinning her up against the wall, his mouth landing on hers while his hand roamed her body. "I've been waiting to get you alone with no distractions," he said, sliding the straps of her dress down over her shoulders, letting it fall to the floor. Later, lying in bed, she lay on top of him with a big smile on her face. "Where do you get your stamina from?" she asked after the third round of amazing S**x. "From you. I can't get enough of you." "Well, you wore me out, and I'm starving, so order us some room service." He rolled her over onto her back, getting on top. "I will, but first let's take a shower and maybe I'll let you clean my rocket." She giggled, grabbed his hand and walked towards the bathroom. "Maybe I'll even let you clean my secret garden." The next day, while Preston was out with one of his authors, she decided to go for a swim at the hotel's outdoor pool. After her swim, she lay down on the lounger by the pool. Putting on her dark sunglasses, she looked around when she heard a familiar voice. She couldn't believe her eyes when she spotted Hannah standing by the edge of the pool talking to another woman. Getting up, she walked over to the two women and tapped Hannah on the shoulder. Turning around and seeing Leah, her jaw dropped, and she swallowed the lump in her throat. "Leah, I never thought I'd run into you here." "Shocked, are you? Preston and I are here on vacation, a little break from the twins," she said, making a point of the fact that they have children. "Twins, how lovely for you." Leah turned to the other woman. "Are you married?" "Yes, why?" "I just want to warn you to keep an eye on this woman when your husband is around. She might try and steal him from you." "Shut the **k up," Hannah snapped. "No, I want to hear what she has to say," the other woman said, turning back to Leah. "Just why do you feel the need to warn me?" Leah told the woman everything Hannah did, right down to having drugged him and pretending they had S**x. "You see, she got my husband so drunk that when he passed out she undressed him, got into bed with him so that when he woke up and saw her there he believed her when she said they had S**x. The woman's face turned red, her eyes blazing with fury. She turned to Hannah. "My husband never worked late until you started working for him, and I bet you never gave him any of my messages. Don't listen to her. She hates me and is only trying to get me fired. I never liked you from the beginning. The way you kept putting your hands on him and always calling him. I'm going to talk to my husband, so I suggest you start looking for another job." She turned back to Leah. "Thank you for letting me know." Touching Leah on the shoulder, she walked away. "You bitch, you just cost me my job." "Well, we're even. You almost caused me to lose the man I love. There's something I want to give you. Something I should have given you back then." "Yeah, like what?" "This," Leah said, making a fist. She clocked Hannah right in the face, causing her to fall back into the pool. "Find your own man and leave everyone else's alone, bitch," she said and walked away with a smile on her face. When Preston returned from his meeting, she told him what had happened. "I hope you aren't upset with me for punching her." He sat back in his chair, crossed his right leg over his left and smiled. "If it wasn't wrong for a man to slug a woman, I would have done it myself a long time ago. No, I'm not upset, but I do wish I had been there to see it. I like this side of you. In fact, I'm quite aroused by it." Her eyes lowered to his crotch, and saw the bulge inside his pants, and her core began to throb. Knowing what he had hidden inside his pants, she felt her panties getting damp. Going over, she straddled him. Moving her hand down, she pulled down his zipper. Reaching inside, she wrapped her hand around his shaft and leaned over to whisper in his ear. "I want you now," she said, emphasizing the word now. They ended up staying in Paris for 2 weeks, enjoying the sights and plays. Luck was on their side. They hadn't seen or heard from Hannah during their stay. The last night in Paris, they made good use of the bed, trying to get pregnant again. "Wow," he said. Rolling onto his back, he took her hand in his. "You have worn me out." Turning her head, she smiled at him. "You're tired after only 3 rounds. You must be getting old," she said, taunting him. "Give me a large glass of water, and 20 minutes, then I'll go another 2 rounds, and I'll show you I'm not an old man." He watched her when she got out of bed, and went into the other room, coming back with a cold glass of water. "You're going to end up killing me," he said, taking the glass from her hand. She giggled. 20 minutes. I'm timing you. You're really going to take me up on it?" "Yep, I want you to put a baby inside me, but if you need a few more minutes, that's okay with me. My vagina could use a break. You were a little rough the last time." Placing the empty glass on the nightstand, he rolled her over onto her back and got on top. "I'm ready now." She felt his hardness pressing against her, and she snickered. "Already? It's only been 5 minutes." She never got to say anything else when his mouth came down on hers, and she felt his hard manhood sliding inside her. Lifting his head, he looked at her and smiled. "How's that for an old man?" Not bad at all," she said, letting out a (*n) when he started thrusting hard and deep inside her. When morning came, he ordered room service, letting Leah sleep in. He sat in the chair across from the bed, watching her sleep. She looked amazing when she slept. So beautiful, and he thanked God for giving him another chance with her. She was what made his life worth living. The love he felt for her couldn't be put into words. She stirred. Opening her eyes, she caught him watching her. "Preston, it's kind of creepy when you watch me sleep." She sat up and stretched, yawning. "I'm starving." He gave her a smile. "I've ordered breakfast. It should be here any minute." "Thank you. I loved being here, but I'm really missing the twins, and will be glad when we get home." "Me too," he said. Going over to the bed, he leaned over and kissed her. Chapter 21, Epilogue. The twins turned 6 and Leah still hadn't gotten pregnant, which made her sad, but Preston would remind her that they have 2 beautiful children. Aiden was so protective of his twin. Even as toddlers, whenever she cried, he would comfort her. Leah thought back to when the twins were 2 years old, sitting in their high chairs. Abigail dropped the cookie she was eating, and when she started crying, Aiden handed her his cookie. They were good kids, but at times could be a pair of devils. Neither one would rat the other one out. Leah was in the bathroom when Preston and the twins returned home from Christmas shopping. Both were excited about the gifts they had bought her, telling her not to peek as they ran off to wrap them. "I hope you didn't go overboard again this year. It's Christmas time, and the kids wanted to spoil you as I do. If you're a good girl, I'll give you one of your gifts tonight, when I get you into bed," he said, pulling her into his arms. She laughed. "I get that every night and morning." Mommy, what's this?" Abigail shouted as she ran into the room holding something in her hand. "Let's see what you got there," Preston said, taking what was a pregnancy test from her little hand. He looked at it, and seeing it was positive, he smiled at Leah. "You're pregnant?" She took a deep breath, letting it out. "This wasn't the way I wanted to tell you, but yes." He squealed and picked her up off her feet. "God, I love you so much," he said, putting her down, gave her a long and loving kiss. "Oh man, you're kissing again," Aiden said, rolling his eyes. Letting go of Leah, he got down to the twins' level. Your mommy is having a baby. You will soon have a little brother or sister to love. Where's the baby? Abigail asked, looking around the room, but didn't see a baby. He got up and put his arm around Leah. The baby is inside your mommy's tummy. How did it get in there? Abigail asked. Aidan stood beside her. He too was curious. If it's in there, how's it going to get out? Preston cleared his throat. He was at a loss for words. Seeing him sweat, she let out a snicker, and decided to help him out. When you're both a little older we'll explain, but for now go and clean your bedroom and then I'll let you have some of my homemade Christmas cookies. Yeah, they both squealed with delight and took off running. When they were gone he pulled her into his arms. Thank you. They threw me for a loop when they asked that and I didn't know how to answer. We'll have to explain it to them someday, but not yet. A single tear fell from her eyes and rolled down her cheek. I was beginning to think I was never going to get pregnant again. He wiped her tears away with his thumb. It's not like we haven't been trying. Leah, I want you to know how happy you have made me. You, the kids and our lives together are more than I deserve. She placed the palm of her hand on the side of his face. Her eyes were filled with love for him. You're a good man, a wonderful husband and a great father. You have made me so happy and have kept your promise to me. What promise? The Christmas promise, where you said you would always put me first and never ignore me. I love you so much. I love you too, he said, giving her a passionate kiss. Leah was now 8 months pregnant, and they were all thrilled when they found out she was once again having twins. They decided to wait until they were born to find out the S*X of the babies. Preston and Aidan were hoping for 2 boys, whereas Leah and Abigail wanted girls. One night after the kids were put to bed, Leah filled up a bowl with ice cream and sat down on the couch and started eating. She was halfway through it when Preston walked in and sat down next to her. Wow, are you going to eat all of that by yourself? She turned to look at him. Tears sprang to her eyes, and she then dumped the remainder of the ice cream on his lap. No, you can have the rest. I'm going to bed, she said. Getting up, she walked out of the room. He jumped to his feet, the ice cream freezing his manhood. He was shocked. He didn't understand why she got so upset. Lately, he had to be careful what he said to her. Everything seemed to set her off. Going into the kitchen, he placed the bowl into the sink, then went into the laundry room and grabbed a pair of sweatpants. Wanting to make her feel better, he grabbed his keys and went to the all-night bakery. There he picked out a chocolate cake and had them put "sorry for whatever I did wrong" on it in white icing. What's that? She asked when he returned home. He carried it over to the bed and sat down beside her. I went and got you a little something to make you feel better. Her mouth watered when she saw the cake. Then she became angry when she read the words. You seriously don't know what you did wrong? A low growl escaped his lips. No. You called me fat, she said, giving him a dirty look and crossing her arms over her chest. What? I never said you were fat. Yes you did, when you asked if I was going to eat the ice cream. He wanted to laugh, but knew better than to laugh at a pregnant woman. Sweetheart, I didn't mean anything by that. She tilted her head towards him. So you don't think I'm fat? God no. You're beautiful and S*XY as hell. I'm sorry for being so bitchy lately. When she started sniffling, he felt bad for her. Knowing this pregnancy was hard on her, he put his arms around her, kissing the side of her head. You're not bitchy. Would you like me to take the cake downstairs and cut you a slice? She smiled at him. Yes please, and maybe some ice cream with it. Getting up, he picked up the cake and looked down at her. Would you like anything else? Milk, she replied. The next few days went really well. Her mood swings weren't nearly as bad, and it helped that her mother and father were coming to stay with them until the babies were born. This seemed to pick up her spirits. Preston was being awarded the Publisher of the Year award. There was a dinner to follow, but he was worried about her going in her condition and so close to her due date. Are you sure you're up to going? He asked when she came out of the shower. I'll be fine and I wouldn't miss it for the world. Now go wait downstairs with my folks while I get ready. Okay, I could use a drink. She went and hugged him. Are you nervous about making a speech? A little. You'll do a great job. I am very proud of you. Thanks, and I couldn't have done it without you. I'll go and let you get ready. I love you, he said, giving her a kiss before leaving the bedroom. She was excited to see everyone from the office again, and they all greeted her with hugs and told her how beautiful she looked. After a delicious meal, the speeches were about to start when she felt the first contraction. Knowing he was about to get up to make his speech, she kept quiet, knowing she had plenty of time before she'd have to go to the hospital. Preston was getting ready to go up on stage when he saw her holding her stomach and the look that crossed her face. Sweetheart, are you okay? Yes, now go make your speech. When he heard the sound coming from her mouth, he knew everything wasn't all right. Are you in labor? She knew she couldn't lie to him. Yes, but you have time to do your speech. You're almost 3 weeks early. The hell with the speech. I'm taking you to the hospital. My assistant can read my speech. He leaned over to Howard and told him what was happening and that he would have to read the speech and accept the award for him. When he got her safely into the car and started driving to the hospital, she looked over at him. I'm so sorry. What for? He asked, glancing over at her. I know this night was important to you and I've spoiled it. He placed his hand on her leg. You didn't spoil anything. Getting an award is nice, but you giving birth to our babies is so much more important to me. By the way, I forgot to mention it earlier, but you look so beautiful in this dress. Oh, she said, looking upset. What? He asked, wondering if she was having another contraction. My water broke and it's all over your car seat. He chuckled and squeezed her leg. It's okay. But you just bought this car last week, and I've ruined it. No, you haven't. And it's just a car. I don't love it. I love you. When they got to the hospital, she was taken in right away. While they were getting her settled, he called their parents and told them what was happening. After a short time in the delivery room, their twins were born, 2 6-pound baby girls. Once she and the babies were cleaned up and taken to their room, Preston went in to see them. He had tears in his eyes as he leaned over to kiss her. So what are we going to name these 2 little angels? Well, since you like the name Miranda, and I like Candace, let's go with that. Perfect, he said, taking one of the babies in his arms. They aren't identical. Both are so different from one another. Miranda here has blonde hair and blue eyes, and Candace has brown hair and brown eyes. When everyone came to visit, Aiden and Abigail were thrilled with their sisters. Preston picked Aiden up and smiled at him. Looks like we're outnumbered, 2 men to 4 women. Maybe next time Mommy will have another set of twins and they'll be boys. Leah laughed when she heard this. Forget it, I'm done having babies. He grinned over at her. I thought you were the one who wanted lots of children. I did, but I really think 4 is enough. I hope you're okay with that. Yeah, whatever you want. I have the family I want and the love of my life. I'm a very happy man thanks to you. 6 months later, they were sitting in the living room. The older twins were reading and the younger twins were on the floor. Leah and Preston watched as the babies held hands and made cute baby noises. It was as if they were talking to each other. To sum things up, they never had any more children, and when they were all in school, Leah went to work with Preston, helping him to run the business. They remained in love, and when the children grew up and after college, they too joined the family business. Aiden, though, became a writer, making it big with his mystery and action novels. They all found the love of their lives and lived happily ever after. Now, as for the magical snow globe, it made its appearance every year in the town of Clarksville, bringing other couples together for a Christmas miracle. If you enjoyed the story, please consider leaving a review to help others find the book. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Your input helps us improve. The end.